Chapter 1531. In the square of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Roar. 10 minutes later, as a rainbow dragon with a length of only more than 50,000 meters merged into Yusiki's body. The rainbow dragon that was more than 8,000 miles long in the void slowly raised its huge head and let out a roar that resounded through the sky and shook the 5 regions. Then, the rainbow dragon that was more than 8,000 miles long swayed its dragon tail. It seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact, it rushed to Yuhauran at lightning speed. However, a body that was more than 8,000 miles long was really too long, and it would take a while for it to completely merge into his body. Therefore, Yuhauran could only wait expectantly while observing the situation of Qin Lingfei and the others' breakthroughs. Boom! However, just as he looked at Qin Lingfei, a violent roar suddenly came from a position about 70 meters away. At the same time, an extremely dazzling green light instantly erupted from the position where the roar had just sounded. Householder Qin Lian. When the dazzling green light quickly receded, Yuhauran discovered that an old man was standing in the same place. It turned out to be householder Qin Lian, whom he had met in Xianyang City. Immediately after, he remembered that Zhongli Shuiqin had mentioned householder Qin Lian when she was speculating about Wang Chuantao's origin. He hurriedly looked around for Wang Chuantao's trace. However, Wang Chuanao seemed to have disappeared into thin air. There was no trace of him at all. Who on earth secretly removed my self-sealing Dharma seal? Householder Qin Lian, who had always given off a gentle feeling, immediately shouted angrily when he discovered that an incarnation that he had used to travel the continent was exposed in front of everyone, causing him to lose his most powerful negative film. As he shouted angrily, a terrifying aura that caused the earth to tremble and the sky to shatter rapidly rose from householder Qin Lian's body. A powerful expert at the level of Emperor Wu, looking at the shattering void and feeling the trembling earth under his feet, the supreme elder of the Yushu Temple, who was at the level of Third Tribulation Emperor Wu, shouted involuntarily. No, he's not at the level of Emperor Wu. As soon as the supreme elder of the Yushu Temple shouted, Zhongli Shuiqin, who was slowly getting up, shook her head and denied it with a serious expression. Then, she directly pointed out householder Qin Lian's true cultivation level. He's at the Third Tribulation Martial God Realm, which is also commonly known as a demigod or a fake god. After hearing Zhongli Shuiqin's words, the crowd did not have time to be shocked or exclaimed. They instinctively wanted to immediately leave the hidden dragon fortress to escape from this dangerous place where they might lose their lives. When they saw the dragon blessing, the fake god at the level of Third Tribulation Martial God Realm, they fake God. Zhongli Li Domain's God's God. 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 Zhongli Shuiqin's timely reminder made the countless experts who had left the spectator stand suddenly realize that they did not need to worry about householder Qin Lian, who was at the demigod realm, killing them with the protection of the more powerful dragon blessing. They blushed slightly and returned to the stone chairs in the spectator stand. Why did you disguise yourself as a contestant to cheat me of my blessing? Looking at householder Qin Lian, who was emitting a terrifying aura, the 7-colored dragon head's expression did not change in the slightest as he asked coldly. Due to the sudden surge of anger, householder Qin Lian could not control the terrifying aura erupting from his cultivation level. Therefore, when he was questioned by the dragon blessing whose strength was far superior to his, householder Qin Lian, who quickly withdrew his terrifying aura, felt very embarrassed. He laughed dryly and chose to remain silent. After all, the motive of disguising himself as Wang Chuantao of the younger generation to cheat the dragon blessing was too great. He could not and did not dare to reveal even the slightest trace of himself. Seeing that you have an extraordinary background, you can either immediately return the blessing to me, or I'll destroy this incarnation of yours right now. After all, it won't affect your main body at all. Householder Qin Lian's silence caused the 7-colored dragon head formed by the dragon blessing to reveal a trace of coldness in its eyes. Its tone became even colder as it threatened. Since that incarnation of yours has already been destroyed, the blessing of the dragon blessing is of no use to me. I'll return the dragon blessing to you right now. After hearing the threat of the dragon blessing, householder Qing Lian could not help but shudder. Then, he immediately grabbed a 7-colored little dragon that was less than 10 centimeters long from his body and threw it directly at the 7-colored dragon head in the air. You can leave the hidden dragon fortress now. The 7-colored dragon head opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed the little 7-colored dragon. Its tone was slightly polite as it requested. After all, the strength of householder Qing Lian's main body was too terrifying. Even if it successfully evolved into another life form, it would probably not be a match for his main body. Therefore, in a situation where the other party took the initiative to take a step back, the dragon blessing also had to give him sufficient treatment. The dragon blessing can leave the hidden dragon fortress without a problem. But can you help me find the culprit who removed the seal just now? After feeling the killing intent condensed by the 7-colored dragon head slowly dissipate, householder Qing Lian heaved a sigh of relief and immediately revealed a gentle smile on his face as he negotiated. What do you think? The 7-colored dragon head's originally polite attitude instantly returned to its cold gaze as it asked in return. Forget it. Just pretend that I didn't mention the request just now. Asking the owner of the lost item to find the culprit who helped him retrieve the lost item? How could he have asked such an obviously retarded question just now? Therefore, householder Qing Lian waved his hand gloomily and directly soared into the air, intending to leave the hidden dragon fortress. However, when he unexpectedly saw Yu Haoran, who was still receiving the blessing of the dragon blessing, a trace of horror immediately flashed in his eyes. Thowing, who was in Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness, immediately became nervous and immediately mobilized his spiritual sense to prepare to make a move at any time. Although I lost a clone that I painstakingly refined, it was worth it to know who is the Destiny's Child and who is the terminator of the great calamity of the world. Householder Qing Lian instantly put away the horror in his eyes and quickly left the hidden dragon fortress. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. Seeing householder Qing Lian obediently leave the hidden dragon fortress without exposing any traces of Yu Haoran being the Destiny's Child, Thowing secretly heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he also decided to immediately collect some precious refining materials to refine a method to conceal the aura of the Destiny's Child, so as to avoid being discovered by those old fellows hiding outside the void. Chapter 1532. In the square of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. It took almost 7 minutes for the rainbow dragon, which was over 8,000 miles long, to merge into Yu Haoran's body. In 7 minutes, all the contestants who chose to break through had successfully advanced to the peak martial honorable realm. Without any delay, he used the special relationship between him and the hidden dragon luck to appear in an arena. He took out more than 10 rank 6 and rank 7 spiritual meridians. Then, with the support of the huge amount of hidden dragon luck and the pure spiritual chi in the spiritual meridians, Yu Haoran began to break through to the peak martial honorable realm. Boom! A thunderous roar was heard. Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged in the arena, suddenly had an extremely powerful aura. Other than Tang Haiming, who had left the hidden dragon fortress early, there were a total of 98 contestants who had received the support of the hidden dragon luck who chose to break through on the spot. As the rainbow dragon, which symbolized the hidden dragon luck, was too huge, Yu Haoran's time to break through to the martial honorable realm was far behind the other contestants. Therefore, at the moment he broke through to the martial honorable realm, some of the more talented contestants had already advanced to the peak of rank 2 martial honorable realm or the beginning of rank 3 martial honorable realm. However, whether it was Yuan Haofei, who had reached the beginning of rank 3 martial honorable realm, Wu Dao, who had the Buddha's light illuminating secret technique to increase his aura, or even Yusiki, who had cultivated the great Wang Qin cultivation method, their auras were all different. When they faced Yu Haoran's aura, when he had just broken through to the peak martial honorable realm, they were like mice that had seen a cat. They either immediately retracted their auras or chose to withdraw their auras. His foundation is as thick as Mount Tai, and his potential is as wide as the sea. I'm afraid Yu Haoran doesn't just have the potential to break through to the martial god realm. Just the aura that he released when he had just broken through to the martial honorable realm was enough to completely suppress dozens of talented geniuses who were not inferior to him. This was enough to show how much Yu Haoran valued the tempering of his foundation and potential. This made Zhongli Shuiqin, who had an extraordinary background, reveal a look of deep admiration in her eyes. With the blessing of the hidden dragon luck, during the 20-odd days of seclusion in the prince's mansion, not only did he fully accept the inheritance of the 12 ancient witches' memories, but he also used the comprehension of the inheritance of the ancient witches' memories and the chi of heaven and earth contained in the prince's mansion to improve his strength by leaps and bounds. Putting aside the fact that he had just reached the peak of peak 9th grade martial honored realm, before he had broken through to the martial honored realm, his physical body, origin energy, and soul power had all reached the peak of 6th grade martial honored realm. Therefore, in less than 10 seconds after his cultivation had broken through to the martial honorable realm, his cultivation had successfully advanced to the early stage of the peak martial honorable realm. 20 seconds later, he successfully advanced to the mid-stage of 1st grade martial venerable. 40 seconds later, he successfully advanced to the peak of 1st grade martial venerable. A minute later, he successfully advanced to the peak of 1st grade martial honorable. 1 minute and 30 seconds later, he successfully broke through to the early stage of a 2nd grade martial honorable. At that moment, he had already caught up with some of the contestants who had broken through to the martial honored realm in advance. 2 minutes later, he successfully advanced to the mid-stage of 2nd grade martial honorable. 2 minutes and 40 seconds later, he successfully advanced to the peak of 2nd grade martial honorable. 3 minutes and 20 seconds later, he successfully advanced to the peak of 2nd grade martial honorable. 4.5 minutes later, as his aura continued to increase, his cultivation successfully advanced to the early stage of 3rd grade martial honorable. At that moment, he had successfully caught up with Yuan Haofei, Wu Dao, Xia Tianqi, and the others who had the potential of being top geniuses and had profound accumulation. He was only second to Huang Fuqing, the sword without trace, Wu Zhengjun, and Yu Siki. Boom! 10 minutes later, as another thunderous roar came from Yu Haoran's body, his cultivation successfully broke through to the early stage of 4th grade martial honorable and successfully caught up with Huang Fuqing. At the same time, some of the contestants who did not receive many blessings from the hidden dragon luck and had ordinary talents had already completed their breakthroughs. While observing Yu Haoran and the others' breakthroughs, they used the spiritual veins, spiritual chi, to consolidate their breakthroughs. Boom! Half an hour later, as the 5th and louder roar came from Yu Haoran's body, his cultivation successfully broke through to the early stage of 5th grade martial honorable. While completely surpassing Huang Fuqing, he also successfully caught up with the sword without trace, who had just broken through to the early stage of 5th grade martial honorable. At that moment, the contestants who were ranked below 20 on the leaderboard had basically completed their breakthroughs. Among them, Qin Lingfei had successfully advanced to the peak of 4th grade martial honorable and became the true #1 expert in the great Emperor Qin's imperial family. Although he had long known that ice was born from water and was colder than water, Emperor Qin could not help but feel a little disappointed when he saw his own daughter, Qin Lingfei, who was not even 20 years old, becoming a peerless expert at the peak of 4th grade martial honorable. As for Meng Zhengkai, the gap between their cultivation and strength was too big, so he was filled with excitement and joy when he saw Qin Lingfei's breakthrough. Boom! 2 hours later, as another louder roar came from Yu Haoran's body, his cultivation successfully broke through to the early stage of 6th grade martial honorable, successfully surpassing the sword without trace and Wu Zhengjun. He was only a small realm away from Yusiki, who was about to break through to the peak of 7th grade martial honorable. At that moment, there were only 9 contestants who were still breaking through. These 9 people were all in the top 10 of the final ranking of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking. Among them, Jiang Jingya, whose cultivation was not very high, took the initiative to stop breaking through after she reached the peak of the 9th level of the Martial Saint realm. Then, with the support of a huge amount of Hidden Dragon luck, she began to increase her accumulation. She wanted to break through to the 6th or 7th level of the top Martial Saint realm when she broke through to the Martial Saint realm like Jian Wuhan, whom she worshipped. Boom! Half an hour later, as a thunderous roar came from the central square, the crowd was shocked to find that Yusiki, who had received the least amount of Hidden Dragon luck, was the first to break through to the early stage of 7th grade Martial Honorable. Furthermore, from the aura that kept rising, the early stage of 7th grade Martial Honorable was far from the limit of Yusiki's breakthrough. At that moment, the contempt in the crowd's eyes was replaced by shock, and the disdain in their hearts was replaced by admiration. At that moment, Elder Shu of the Ice Snow Palace revealed an incomparably vexed expression. Regret filled his face. Boom! For hours later, as a thunderous roar came from Yu Howren's body that shook the entire Hidden Dragon Fortress, his cultivation successfully broke through to the early stage of 7th grade Martial Honorable, officially entering the ranks of the top experts in the Tianxin continent. Chapter 1533. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Square. Sigh. Wu Dao could not help but let out a long sigh as he watched his cultivation stagnate at mid-level 6th grade Martial Venerable with the help of a huge amount of Hidden Dragon luck. Originally, with his own deep accumulation, the Golden Buddha elixir that he had consumed in advance, the increase in his state of mind and comprehension of Buddhism, and the support of a large amount of Hidden Dragon fate, he had thought that he would be able to reach the early stage of a peak rank 7 Martial Honorable in one go. However, it seemed that not only was his prediction too optimistic, but he also had a very shallow understanding of his own condition. Then, he took out a Buddha Saraira and used the pure Buddhist power contained in the Saraira to consolidate his realm after his breakthrough. After only 20 minutes, Yuan Haofei, who had also retracted his aura, was extremely unwilling and angry. Because he thought highly of himself, he thought that with his talent as a top genius, the demonic sect's secret technique that could help increase his cultivation and the support of a large amount of Hidden Dragon fate, he would at least be able to reach the peak of a 7th grade Martial Honorable. However, the merciless reality gave him a loud slap in the face. The cultivation of a peak 6th grade Martial Venerable was more than a small level lower than he had expected. It also made him lose the opportunity to become a peerless expert in the Tianxin continent. Yuan Sangxiong, who was on the east side of the spectator stand, also had a look of regret in his eyes. After nearly half an hour, Xia Tianqi also retracted his powerful aura and ended the breakthrough of his cultivation. Although the breakthrough of his cultivation did not meet his expectations, after being stimulated by Yu Haoren and the other 3, who were even more monstrous than monstrous geniuses, he could clearly recognize his shortcomings. Therefore, when facing the peak 6th grade Martial Venerable, Xia Tianqi calmly took out a superior 6th grade spiritual vein. He used the pure spiritual qi of the spiritual vein to consolidate his breakthrough while observing the progress of Yu Haoren and the other 3. Boom! Boom! 2 hours after Xia Tianqi's breakthrough, 2 thunderous sounds rang out one after another. Wu Zhengjun and the Sword Without Trace broke through to the early level of 7th grade Martial Venerable almost at the same time. Boom! In less than a minute, Huang Fuchuing had also successfully advanced to the early stage of a peak 7th grade Martial Venerable. Seeing the Yusiki, Yu Haoren, Wu Zhengjun, the Sword Without Trace, and Huang Fuchuing had all successfully advanced to 7th grade Martial Venerable and successfully stepped into the ranks of the top experts of the profound sky continent. The originally bustling atmosphere suddenly quieted down. At the same time, some of the top experts from the inherited families had a serious look in their eyes. According to the clan's records of the previous Hidden Dragon rankings, even if the environment of the southern mountain range had not been destroyed, the number of participants who could choose to break through to the martial honorable realm in the 5 regions Hidden Dragon tournament that was filled with monstrous geniuses in the Tianxian continent was no more than 58 people. Only 22 people could become martial honorables at the early stage. Ji Songhai from the Yushu Temple, who was the most talented and had received the greatest amount of Hidden Dragon luck, had only reached the peak of 4th grade martial honorable realm. But now, all the participants had successfully advanced to the peak of the martial honorable realm. The top 5 participants had even advanced to the early stage of 7th grade martial honorable realm in a spur of energy. According to the judgment of the ancestors and the ancestors of the profound sky continent, the proportion of the appearance of demon-level geniuses was like bamboo shoots after the rain. This not only meant that the profound sky continent had officially entered the golden age of martial arts cultivation, but it also indicated that a disaster was about to befall. According to the records left by the ancestors, every time a disaster befalls the world, there will be a Destiny's Child born to deal with the disaster. The Destiny's Child is not only the initiator of the disaster, but also the final terminator of the disaster. Those who can choose to be the Destiny's Child's partner. Although there is the danger of dying at any time, the harvest during and after the disaster is also very amazing. Looking at you Howren in the arena, and looking at the few people in the square who were still breaking through, Zhong Li Shui Qin's gaze finally landed on the Supreme Elder of the Yushu Temple. The reason why the Yushu Temple can become a powerful force that is not inferior to the 4 great guardian families is because the Destiny's Child appeared in the heavenly palace of the Yushu Temple during the 2 disasters of the Middle and recent ages. I wonder if the Destiny's Child of this disaster will appear in the Yushu Temple again. Hua Shanyu, who also understood the importance of the Destiny's Child, also looked at the Supreme Elder of the Yushu Temple with a thoughtful look in her eyes. With the accumulation as deep as Mount Tai and the enhancement of his state of mind through the immaculate and dustless state, Yu Haoren's cultivation did not slow down at all after he successfully broke through to the early stage of 7th grade martial honorable realm. In the end, when Yusiki had just broken through to the peak of 7th grade martial honorable realm, he successfully caught up with her. Then, they began to compete to see who could break through to the early stage of 8th grade martial honorable realm first. Feeling the aura of a breakthrough that was not inferior to her own coming from the arena, Yusiki raised her head and looked at Yu Haoren. The ruthlessness in her eyes became colder and colder. Then, she closed her eyes again and placed her jade fingers on her abdomen, quietly forming 3 seals. 1 seal merged with the origin energy in her dantian. 1 seal merged with her sea of consciousness, and the last seal crossed the barrier of time and space, directly imprinting on a huge stone statue in the distant void. After only 3 seconds, from the stone statue in the distant void, 2 drops of crystal clear energy, liquid the size of raindrops, suddenly floated out. The 2 drops of energy liquid used the seals on the stone statue to cross the barrier of time and space, instantly appearing in Yusiki's body. Then, 1 drop of energy liquid merged with the origin energy in her dantian, and the other drop merged with her sea of consciousness. Boom! Following the explosion of the 2 drops of energy liquid, a thunderous sound came from Yusiki's body, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Accompanied by the deafening sound of thunder, Yusiki once again took the lead to break through to the early stage of 8th grade martial honorable realm. This changed everyone's prejudice towards her and also caused Elder Shu of the Snow Palace to be so regretful that her intestines almost turned green. Without opening his eyes to observe, Yu Haoren knew that the only person who could surpass him and break through to the early stage of 8th grade martial honorable realm first was his sister, who cultivated the Great Oblivion mental cultivation method and had successfully activated the heavenly mark physique. Therefore, Yu Haoren, who did not have the slightest ripple in his heart, continued to follow the plan he had set up beforehand, methodically increasing his cultivation. Boom! Half an hour after Yusiki broke through to the early stage of 8th grade martial honorable realm, accompanied by the deafening sound of thunder, Yuharen's cultivation also smoothly entered the early stage of 8th grade martial honorable realm. Chapter 1534. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Square. Damn it! Huangfu Xiaoying suddenly opened her eyes and glared at Wu Jingjun, who was about 40 meters away from her. She was different from Wu Dao and Yuan Haofei, who thought highly of themselves. Huangfu Xiaoying, who had a clear understanding of her own accumulation and potential, knew very well that the limit of her cultivation realm was the peak of 7th grade martial venerable. However, she was stuck at the peak of 7th grade martial venerable. The reason was that Wu Zhangjun had used the Boundless Blood Sea martial technique and consumed too much of the Red Lotus Sin Fire's origin energy. As a result, she could not borrow the Red Lotus Sin Fire's origin energy to make the final breakthrough. Boom! However, when a thunder-like roar came from Wu Zhangjun's body, the anger in Huangfu Xiaoying's eyes was immediately replaced by shock. The thunder-like roar just now indicated that Wu Zhangjun's cultivation had successfully broken through to the early stage of 8th grade martial venerable. Although there was only a small gap between them, Huangfu Xiaoying knew very well that the gap between her and Wu Zhangjun had officially widened. Sigh. Seeing that Wu Zhangjun had successfully broken through to the early stage of 8th grade martial venerable, Huangfu Xiaoying, whose shock was eventually replaced by disappointment, could not help but sigh. Then, she took a deep breath and readjusted her state. When she planned to use the spiritual qi in the spiritual vein to consolidate her cultivation after breaking through, another thunder-like roar that was not inferior to the one when Wu Zhangjun had broken through to the early stage of 8th grade martial venerable just now. Huangfu Xiaoying only raised her head to take a look before she immediately lowered her head and closed her eyes. She took 3 deep breaths in a row to calm her emotions down again. The person who had just broken through to the early stage of 8th grade martial venerable was the sword without trace, whom she had always looked down on. The draw in the courtyard challenge was because she did not use any of her trump cards. To put it bluntly, she was going easy on her opponent. Their loss in the ranking competition was due to the fact that their strongest trump card, the Red Lotus Sin Fire, had just been severely injured and had no choice but to admit defeat. However, the opponent whom Huangfu Xiaoying had always looked down upon had completely surpassed him in terms of talent, potential, cultivation base, and strength. Therefore, Huangfu Xiaoying could only choose to ignore him as much as possible. Otherwise, after breaking through 1 major realm and 7 minor realms in a row, it would be very easy for his already loose mental state to have inner demons. Yuharen, who had also noticed that the sword without trace had broken through to the early stage of the peak 8th grade martial honored realm, hid the surprise in his eyes and glanced at Yusiki, who had already broken through to the peak of the 8th grade martial honored realm. In the end, he closed his eyes again and continued to increase his cultivation and strength. Yuharen, Yusiki, Wu Jingjun, and the sword without trace are all contestants from the Southern Territory. With these 4 top experts with unlimited potential leading them, the Southern Territory, which has been silent for more than 100,000 years, is probably about to truly recover. Looking at Yuharen, who was sitting cross-legged in the arena, a trace of surprise appeared in Yuan Sanqiong's eyes. He began to silently calculate in his heart. If I can use the opportunity of refining the demonic soul attraction pill to establish a deeper friendship with Yuharen, will I be able to officially set foot in the Southern Territory for the demonic path to increase their luck? It seems that I need to hold a high-level meeting of the 4 families in advance to see if we should treat Yuharen as an enemy and become friends or eliminate him as soon as possible. Her gaze swept over Yusiki and the other 2, and finally fell on Yuharen in the arena. Hua Shanyu made a decision inwardly as she clenched her fists tightly. Staring at Yuharen in the arena, the supreme elder of the Yushu Temple gnashed his teeth and muttered to himself, it seems that I need to invite the human sovereign who has been in seclusion for a long time, and then ask the three sovereigns to lift Baihan's seal at the same time, so that Baihan can eliminate Yu Haoran as soon as possible. Otherwise, this kid would have long been a great threat to the Yushu Temple. Looking back and forth between Yu Haoran and Wu Zhengjun, Zhongli Shuiqin suddenly had a bold idea. As the saying goes, an elder brother is like a father. If Xiao Jiwen's cultivation smoothly advances to Emperor Wu's level, an elixir emperor, Yu comes to propose marriage in the name of an elder brother, I'm sure those snobbish clansmen won't oppose it. The only problem is how to prepare the betrothal gifts for the marriage proposal. Looking at Yu Haoran and the other four in the center of the square, Meng Zhengkai said with incomparable excitement, "Your Majesty, with the Emperor's son-in-law, Miss Siki, the commander of the army, Miss Wuhan, and Her Highness, Emperor Qin's complete unification of the southern domain will no longer be a dream." Previously, the war plan for the unification of the southern domain was not complete, and they deliberately avoided many clans and cities that were inextricably linked to the central domain. Although it was said that they would unify the entire southern domain, in reality, they would only occupy about 70% of the southern domain's territory. That's right. Nodding heavily, Emperor Qin gripped the armrests of his stone chair with both hands. At this moment, the ambition surging in his heart was far beyond Meng Zhengkai's imagination, because his sights had already moved beyond the southern domain to the eastern domain, where the cultivation environment was superior and could satisfy the army's needs. The sword without trace, who had successfully broken through to the beginner grade 8 martial honorable realm, had wanted to continue to break through to a higher realm. However, he realized that the speed of his cultivation had instantly slowed down. In the end, his cultivation completely stopped when he was about to break through to the middle grade 8 martial honorable realm. At the beginning of the competition, he had originally estimated that he would be ranked around 20 in the 5 regions Hidden Dragon leaderboard, and that he would be able to break through to the beginner grade 6 martial honorable realm. Now, not only had he reached 4th place in the leaderboard, but his cultivation had also risen to the beginner grade 8 martial honorable realm. This had far exceeded his initial expectations. Therefore, when faced with the sudden stop of his breakthrough, the sword without trace did not have the slightest bit of dissatisfaction. Instead, he took out an upper grade 6 spiritual vein and began to use the spiritual chi in the spiritual vein to consolidate his breakthrough. Yusiki, whose cultivation had successfully reached the peak grade 8 martial honorable realm, suddenly frowned slightly. She opened her eyes and looked at Yu Haoran, who was on the stage, and discovered that not only had his cultivation also reached the peak grade 8 martial honorable realm, but his cultivation was still rapidly rising. Biting her lower lip, Yusiki's eyes flashed with a trace of resolute coldness. Then, she directly cut her index finger and wrote the word love on the ground. The word love, written in fresh blood, quickly merged into the ground. After only 20 seconds, a dozen drops of fresh blood that emitted pure energy floated out from the ground where she was sitting cross-legged. With a wave of her sleeve, she swallowed the dozen drops of fresh blood that emitted pure energy. Chapter 1535. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress. Most of the experts present could not help but frown when they saw that Yusiki was breaking through to the next realm by swallowing blood that contained pure energy. However, to Yuan Sangxiong, who was a demonic path powerhouse, as long as it could help him increase his cultivation and strength, he would not even frown if he swallowed a living being alive, let alone swallowing blood that contained pure energy. However, what he really cared about now was not the method that Yusiki was using to break through to the next realm, but how she was using her own blood to write the word love and successfully draw out the blood that contained pure energy that had been accumulated under the square for millions of years. Yuan Sangxiong's doubts were also what the 33 honorables from the Hidden Dragon Fortress were eager to know. Every Hidden Dragon ranking battle was a competition for the younger generation to fight for the Hidden Dragon fate, but it was also a competition to resolve personal grudges. Therefore, The central square of the hidden dragon fortress in every region was filled with the blood of many top geniuses. As the 7 honorables who were in charge of the hidden dragon fortress, they also wanted to use the blood that had been accumulated under the ground to increase their own potential and accumulation. However, they ended up with nothing. Looking at the ground where Yusiki was sitting cross-legged and the blood that contained pure energy was constantly flowing out, a trace of hesitation flashed through the eyes of the 7-colored dragon head that was formed by the hidden dragon fate. As it was about to evolve into a new life form, it was more sensitive to unknown dangers. Although the little girl's cultivation and strength were not strong, it could vaguely feel that her body contained a strange energy that could kill it. Therefore, even though it knew that she was stealing the blood essence that it had accumulated for countless years, it did not dare to punish her or stop her. Fortunately, after using only about 100 drops of blood, Yusiki had accumulated enough energy to break through to the peak 9th grade martial venerable realm. This made the 7-colored dragon head secretly relieved. Boom! Boom! Just as Yusiki used the pure blood accumulated under the hidden dragon fortress and successfully broke through to the early stage of the peak 9th grade martial venerable, Yuhauran also successfully broke through to the early stage of the peak 9th grade martial venerable in less than a second. Looking up at Yuhauran in the ring, Yusiki carefully checked her own accumulation, then looked up at the colorful dragon head in the air. In the end, she could only sigh. Then, she took out 2 level 6 spiritual meridians and began to consolidate her cultivation. At this moment, Wu Zhengjun was also stuck at the peak of the 8th grade martial saint realm. He also took out the spiritual vein to consolidate his cultivation. Yuhauran, it's about time. Just as Yuhauran successfully advanced to the initial stage of a peak grade 9 martial honorable, the Thaling in his spiritual sea hurriedly reminded him. Thaling, hold on a little longer. After hearing the Thaling's reminder, Yuhauran looked up at the sky. After a flash of determination in his eyes, he requested the Thaling in his spiritual sea. Yuhauran, now is not the time for me to hold on. If you continue to delay, you may fall into an irrecoverable danger. Seeing that Yuhauran still wanted to continue taking the risk, the Thaling immediately criticized him angrily. Thaling, since I dare to let you do this, I have a way to deal with it. So, you just need to continue to cover for me. Since he had already decided to risk his life, why not completely force himself into a situation where there was a slim chance of survival? As long as the final plan succeeded, not only was he confident that he could break through to the realm of the Emperor Wu in 9 months, but he also did not have to fear the bloody revenge of the Zhou clan when the Heavenly Way's rules fell into a deep sleep. Yuhauran, you win. Hearing the determination in Yuhauran's tone of command, the Thaling felt admiration in his heart. At the same time, he could not help but grit his teeth and scold him with some hatred. Ignoring the Thaling who was gnashing his teeth in hatred, Yuhauran continued to use the accumulation of his body that was about to reach the limit, as well as the support of the enormous hidden dragon fortune, to break through to a higher realm. Could it be that Pill Emperor you wants to break through to the peak of grade 9 martial honorable? When a second tribulation Quasi-Emperor Supreme Elder from the 100 Lane clan saw Yuhauran's horrifying aura continue to strengthen, his expression changing slightly as he muttered to himself. It was clear that Yuhauran was trying to break through to a higher cultivation. After hearing the Bailey clan's Grand Elder speculations, Peng Yanfei, who was sitting on the purple dragon throne, suddenly felt a burst of panic for some reason, as if something bad was going to happen. The middle-aged expert with the surname Lung, who was sitting on the stone chair on the west side, also felt a little upset like Peng Yanfei. It was precisely because of the speculations of the great elder of the 100 Lane clan that the countless experts present stopped their distracting thoughts and focused their attention on Yuhauran, who was sitting cross-legged in the arena and unceasingly trying to break into a higher realm. He broke through. 40 minutes later, the Bailey clan's Grand Elder suddenly stood up and shouted. He broke through again. 2 hours later, Yuan Sangqiong also stood up and shouted with a shocked expression. Thaling, if you only rely on your victor body, how long can you hold on? After successfully breaking through to the peak of Grade 9 Martial Honorable, Yu Haoran suddenly felt that his accumulation was about to be exhausted. The exhaustion of his accumulation indicated the end of the breakthrough, which was not in line with his cultivation plan at all. If he wanted to break through to the peak of Grade 9 Martial Honorable, he would have to use more Hidden Dragon Fortune. Therefore, he now had to take back half of the Hidden Dragon Fortune that he had given Thaling. 20 minutes at most. After a rough calculation, Thaling gave a time limit. 20 minutes. Although it was only a small breakthrough in a small realm, the peak of Grade 9 Martial Honorable was a completely different realm. It was a realm that could easily suppress a peak of Grade 9 Martial Honorable. 20 minutes was far from enough. It seemed that he had to start the plan that he had suppressed for a long time in advance. Thaling, if that's the case, when I take back the Hidden Dragon Fortune, you should also release the suppression of the Elixir Aura. Okay. Seeing that Yu Haoran was about to face the danger of death, Thaling nodded solemnly. It's all in vain. Yuan Sangxiong, who was full of expectations, could not help but sigh when he saw Yu Haoran take the initiative to withdraw the terrifying aura of the breakthrough. Most of the experts present, like Yuan Sangxiong, had a trace of disappointment in their eyes. Chapter 1536. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress. With the talent and potential Yu Haoran displayed, it wouldn't take long for him to break through to the peak of 9th grade Martial Saint Realm. However, most of the experts couldn't help but feel regretful that they couldn't witness the birth of an unprecedented miracle with their own eyes. However, not everyone hoped for Yu Haoran to succeed. For example, the Grand Elder of the Yushu Temple, the middle-aged man with the surname Long, and some of the people who had grudges with Yu Haoran revealed happy smiles in their eyes. It doesn't matter if you have consolidated your breakthrough or not. Immediately leave the central square. After withdrawing the terrifying aura from his breakthrough, Yu Haoran opened his eyes and ordered all the contestants below the stage. Yu Haoran, what right do you have to order us to leave the central square? The 5 regions' Hidden Dragon ranking battle had officially ended. The rule of not being able to make a move had also disappeared. Therefore, Shang Baijian, who had the support of a powerful force and had an irreconcilable hatred for Yu Haoran, immediately stood up and questioned loudly. Leave if you want. Coldly glancing at Shang Baijian, Yu Haoran didn't get angry at all and retorted. Then, he ordered Qin Lingfei and the others. Immediately retreat to the south side of the stands. Understood. Even if they hadn't completely consolidated their cultivation, after hearing Yu Haoran's order, Qin Lingfei, the sword without trace, Kong Yung-ah, and Wu Jingjun immediately stopped cultivating and flew to the south side of the stands. Yu Siki raised her head and looked above the Hidden Dragon Fortress. Her eyes revealed a trace of worry as she asked, "Do you have confidence? Sister, when have I, your brother, ever done something he wasn't confident in?" Actually, facing such a dangerous situation, Yu Haoran didn't have much confidence in his heart. However, seeing that his sister, who had already advanced to the Heartless Realm, hadn't completely forgotten about him and was still worried about his safety, his heart suddenly surged with boundless confidence as he replied heroically, "Be careful." After leaving a warning, Yu Siki flashed and appeared beside Qin Lingfei and the others. "Big sister, what exactly does Prince Consort want to do?" Yu Siki's inexplicable interrogation and Yu Haoran's heroic reply meant that she definitely knew the real reason why Yu Haoran had asked everyone to leave the central square immediately. Therefore, Qin Lingfei could not help but ask after Yu Siki appeared on the spectator stand. In response, Yu Siki, who had slowly closed her eyes, completely ignored her. This made Qin Lingfei gnash her teeth in anger. "Senior brother Yu Haoran, senior brother Wu Dao, senior sister Huangfu, if you believe me, Yu Haoran, please leave the central square immediately." Seeing that only a few contestants from the southern region and Xia Qianqi had taken the initiative to leave the central square, Yu Haoran suddenly felt a trace of brutality in his heart. Although he didn't care about the life and death of these people below the arena, he remembered that he had promised Yuan Sangxiong an alchemy agreement, accepted the invitation of the owner of Mount Spiritual, and took the initiative to hurt Huangfu, Xiaoying's self-esteem. In the end, he could only make one last effort. Haofei, get over here immediately. Seeing that Yuan Haofei was still stubbornly refusing to get up and leave, Yuan Sangxiong, who was in the spectator stand, roared angrily. Seeing that even Yuan Sangxiong had stepped forward to scold their son, Wu Dao and Huangfu Xiaoying looked at each other, then hurriedly got up and left the square. On the other hand, Shang Baijian and the others thought that the reason Yuan Sangxiong had scolded Yu Haoran was because he needed Yu Haoran to refine pills for him and did not want to offend Yu Haoran too much. Therefore, they sneered at Yu Haoran. Even if they didn't leave the central square, what could he do to them? Ignoring the provocation of Shang Baijian and the others, Yu Haoran raised his head and looked at the 33 venerables sitting on the dragon throne with a complicated look in his eyes. Although he wanted to take advantage of the dangerous situation of 9 kills and 1 life to kill Peng Yinfei, he didn't want to see anything happen to Xue Qingyuan, who was on good terms with him, nor did he want the Pure World Organization, which was created by the Hidden Dragon Blessing, to suffer a heavy blow. In the end, the soft-hearted side of him prevailed. He cupped his hands and said to the 33 venerables in the air, 33 venerables, please retreat to the surrounding spectator stands immediately. Except for Peng Yinfei, who had a personal grudge with Yu Haoran, the remaining 32 venerables had no grudges with him, so they knew very well that he would not make such an unreasonable request for no reason. Therefore, the 32 venerables who got up and left the dragon throne quickly appeared in the surrounding spectator stands. Peng Yinfei, who had long been afraid of Yu Haoran, also left the air without any delay and appeared in the eastern spectator stands. Looking down at Yu Haoran, who was looking at him, the 7-color dragon head lowered his head and asked, "Are you ready?" "I'm ready," Yu Haoran replied with a solemn expression. "I wish you success." After leaving behind a blessing, the 7-color dragon head quickly returned to the list, which instantly disappeared in the air. The actions of the 33 venerables and the hidden dragon blessing made some of the contestants below the stage suddenly realize the seriousness of the problem. They quickly got up and left the central square. Yu Haoran took a deep breath and ordered, "Thaling, let go." He instantly took back half of the hidden dragon blessing that he had given to Thaling. As Thaling took back the power of the victor, countless dark clouds quickly appeared and gathered above the hidden dragon fortress that was originally cloudless. As the dark clouds quickly gathered and appeared, a dull thunder suddenly sounded within a radius of several million kilometers around the hidden dragon fortress. This is the lightning tribulation. Feeling the dark clouds that were still gathering above the hidden dragon fortress, Shang Baijian, who was below the stage, mumbled to himself with a pale face. Then, he immediately rose into the air and planned to leave the central square. However, he found that he was tightly locked by a powerful force, which made it impossible for him to leave the central square. "Yu Haoran, how dare you trap me?" Shang Baijian couldn't help but roar at Yu Haoran due to the fear caused by the lightning tribulation. Yu Haoran turned a blind eye to this. "Yu Shixiang, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have ignored your warning. Now, please think a way to let me leave the square, okay?" A contestant who came to the central square immediately cried and begged when he was also locked by the lightning tribulation. Yu Haoran still turned a blind eye to this. This is the overlapping lightning tribulation caused by the 9 tribulations pill. When Yu Haoran started to break through to the martial saint realm, Qin Yunjin vaguely felt that something was wrong. She felt that something was missing in the process of Yu Haoran breaking through. Chapter 1537. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress. Only when Yu Haoran started to trigger the terrifying lightning tribulation did Qin Yunjin finally remember the second stage 9 tribulations pill. She cried out in shock. Many of the experts present had watched the Southern Region's Hidden Dragon ranking competition and had personally witnessed the refining process of the 9 tribulations pill. Thus, When they heard Qian Yunjin's cry, they immediately understood what the lightning tribulation was and hurriedly explained it to the people around them. 9 tribulations pill, 1 tribulation, 1 realm, 9 tribulations to break through emperor barriers. Zhongli Shuiqin, who also knew the origin and effects of the 9 tribulations pill, couldn't help but guess as she looked at Yu Haoran. Why is Yu Haoran suppressing the lightning tribulation triggered by the pills? Why did he force himself into such a perilous situation? Zhongli Shuiqin's guess was also what most of the experts present wanted to know. Baijian, don't panic. I've already contacted the clan leader and a few third tribulation Emperor Wu ancestors. They're on their way here. Seeing Shang Baijian's pale face due to fear, the Shang clan's ancestor immediately reminded him loudly. Elder Shang, don't waste your time. Shang Baijian is dead for sure. The Shang clan's clan leader and a third tribulation Emperor Wu ancestor were rushing to the hidden dragon fortress together. Saving Shang Baijian was only secondary. Their true goal was to kill Yu Haoran. Zhongli Shuiqin immediately warned with killing intent. After all, Yu Haoran was the key to whether she and Wu Zhengjun could get married. She definitely couldn't just watch something happen to him. Lady Shuiqin has no right to interfere in my Shang clan's matters. The Shang clan's elder coldly retorted to Zhongli Shuiqin's threatening reminder. Zhongli Shuiqin snorted in dissatisfaction, but she didn't do anything to stop or take revenge because the entire hidden dragon fortress was in complete darkness. Yu Haoran, tell me the truth now. How confident are you in surviving the endless thunder tribulation triggered by the 9 tribulations pill? The darkness formed by the thunder tribulation made it so that even a demigod like Thaling could not see his surroundings clearly. Furthermore, due to the suppression of the thunder tribulation, his divine consciousness could not leave the space of his sea of consciousness. The pagoda spirit immediately knew the origin of the lightning tribulation that Yu Haoran was about to face, as both his vision and divine sense were suppressed. When he thought about how even Emperor Wu, a powerful expert, could not survive the endless thunder tribulation, Thaling knew that his vitality would be greatly damaged this time. But before that, he needed to know how long Yu Haoran could withstand the lightning tribulation so that he could calculate the strength of his attack in advance and the severity of the backlash from the lightning tribulation. Thaling, to be honest, facing the endless thunder tribulation with my strength, Yu Haoran's strength, I don't even have the slightest chance of surviving it. In the face of Thaling's interrogation, Yu Haoran's reply was very frustrating, but his expression and tone were very calm. In that case, why do you still take the risk? Without the slightest confidence, Thaling asked angrily after hearing Yu Haoran's reply. Thaling, although I can't survive the endless thunder tribulation with my strength, I'm confident that I can ignore it. While replying to Thaling's angry question, Yu Haoran began to activate the transformation of the ancestral witch. With the cultivation of the high stage of the 9th grade martial revered realm, the transformed ancestral, which reached a height of more than 2,900 meters. The highest position in the surrounding stands only reached his ankles. As the thunder tribulation had not yet descended, the surroundings were completely dark, so the people present did not notice Yu Haoran's transformation. However, when the dark clouds reached a range of 9,990,000 kilometers, the amount of lightning accumulated in the dark clouds had reached its limit. Moreover, when the lightning struck down on Shang Baijian and the others below the stage, the dazzling lightning completely exposed Yu Haoran's 2,900-meter tall body to everyone's sight. Ancestral witch. This is the real ancestral witch of ancient times. Looking at the towering giant under the illumination of the lightning, Zhongli Shuiqin felt the blood in her body boiling and could not help but cry out. Fortunately, the rumbling thunder was very loud and no one present heard her cry just now. This also made Zhongli Shuiqin, who quickly calmed down from the shock, could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. According to the records left behind by the ancestor, if one wants to become a martial revered realm expert, The key is whether the physical body is strong enough. The physical body of the ancestral witch of ancient times was the best carrier to become a martial, revered realm expert. If the ancestral witch of ancient times could open up his dantian and cultivate origin power and divine power, the 9 great kings of the ancient divine beasts, the ancient god clan, and the demon clan would all become the eternal slaves of the ancestral witch. Because every pure, ancient ancestral witch with a special physical body had the hope of becoming a martial, revered realm expert. With the help of the dazzling lightning, looking at the 2,900-meter body of the ancestral witch, Zhongli Shuiqin's eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. With Yu Haoran's extraordinary alchemy skills, the physical body of the pure ancient ancestral witch, his amazing comprehension, and the true martial revered realm expert of the younger generation in the Tianxian continent, I think if he personally came forward to propose marriage, even if he did not prepare a betrothal gift, those old fellows in the family would be wild with joy and nod their heads in agreement. Although Shang Baijian and the others had successfully advanced to the realm of a top martial revered realm expert, they could only hold on for 3 minutes in the face of the endless lightning bombardment before they were completely blasted into nothingness. Seeing the lightning that turned around and aimed at him, Yu Haoran, who had transformed into the ancestral witch, opened his bloody mouth and swallowed all the lightning that was like a waterfall into his body. At the same time, Thowling also used a secret method to guide a part of the lightning into Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness, so that the 2 doppelgangers could use the lightning energy to increase their cultivation and strength, and at the same time, reduce the pressure on Yu Haoran as much as possible. The endless lightning tribulation was different from the pill tribulation. According to the grade of the pill and the degree of triggering the taboo, the pill tribulation would have 3, 6, and 9 lightning bombardments. Moreover, the higher the grade of the pill tribulation, the larger the size of the lightning that appeared in the end. The size of the lightning of the endless lightning tribulation was exactly the same. They were all as thick as hair, but from the moment the lightning tribulation began, the lightning would continue to bombard for a day and a night. In other words, if one wanted to pass through the endless lightning tribulation, then one would have to withstand the continuous lightning bombardment for a day and a night. Devouring Technique. Chapter 1538. In the arena of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region. Although the complete version of the Devouring Great Method could transform energy very quickly, the number of thunderbolts did not decrease at all. Gradually, some of the thunderbolts that could not be transformed in time began to bombard the internal organs, blood vessels, and meridians in his body. Wizard body entering the spirit. Yu Haoran, who did not feel nervous at all, immediately used the secret method inherited from the ancient wizard and began to use the thunderbolt energy to enhance the strength of his internal organs, preparing for the next realm in advance. The thunderbolt of the thunder punishment was one of the purest energies in the world, without any impurities. Under the effect of the Devouring Great Method's continuous transformation of the thunderbolt energy, and with the support of a large amount of hidden dragon luck, his cultivation, which had stopped abruptly, rose rapidly again. The continuous thunderbolts made the hidden dragon fortress, which had fallen into darkness, brighten up again. Looking at Yu Haoran, who was like a giant, who began to use the power of the thunderbolt to continue to break through to the martial venerable realm, the people present had basically guessed his intention. Although they sincerely admired his courage to use the thunderbolt to break through to the martial venerable realm, they did not agree with his method of forcing himself into a dangerous situation. Many people even thought it was ridiculous and stupid. Endless Thunder Punishment, Doomsday Thunder Punishment, and Nine Heavens Thunder Punishment were known as the 3 deadly tribulations. According to the records left by the ancestors, it seemed that from ancient times until now, there was no one in hundreds of millions who could successfully pass through the 3 deadly tribulations. This was also the important reason why most of the experts present thought that Yu Haoran would definitely die in the Endless Thunder Punishment. Big Sister, will Prince Consort be okay? Qin Lingfei, whose heart was filled with endless fear, reached out to grab Yusiki's arm and asked in a sobbing voice, after hearing the experts from the families of inheritance from the central region talking about the endless thunder tribulations and the death judgment of the noble destiny from the top of the spectator stand. At the moment when Qin Lingfei grabbed her arm, Yusiki could not help but frown, and a terrifying cold light flashed in her eyes. But when he heard her crying, which was filled with worry and fear, he could only suppress the murderous aura that surged in his heart and asked in a cold tone, "Since you and Xiao Ran are husband and wife who have gone through thick and thin together, then you should be familiar with and understand his character. Well, have you ever seen him do something he's not confident in?" Yusiki's frosty question immediately reminded Qin Lingfei of Yu Haoran's angry confrontation with Qin Baijun of the Imperial Clan Court. She recalled how he had encircled and annihilated the 11 quasi-venerable realm beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. She recalled the two seemingly unwinnable battles of attrition. Boom! Just when everyone present disagreed with Yu Haoran's risky approach and concluded that he would eventually die under the endless thunder tribulation, a dark thunder that was somewhat different from the thunder of the thunder tribulation came from Yu Haoran's body. Accompanied by the low and oppressive thunder, a powerful aura that belonged to a peak 9th grade martial venerable quickly rose from Yu Haoran's body. It had only been half an hour since the beginning of the thunder tribulation, which was enough to show how powerful the pure energy contained in the thunder tribulation was. Unfortunately, in the face of the downpour of thunder and lightning from the dark clouds above his head, the powerful aura that had just reached its peak was forcefully suppressed back into Yu Haoran's body. Just when his cultivation had successfully reached the peak of 9th grade martial venerable, Yu Haoran suddenly closed his mouth and allowed the endless thunder tribulation to bombard the body of the ancestral witch. Spirit fusion and qi tranquility. While enduring the pain caused by the thunder and lightning, Yu Haoran directly bent his knees and sat cross-legged. He placed his 10 fingers on his abdomen and made a cultivating posture. At the same time, he roared. Among the 12 ancestral witches in ancient times, the strongest ancestral, which had successfully opened up his dantian before falling, had once experienced the baptism of endless thunder tribulation. It was because of the experience of the strongest ancestral, which the Yu Haoran state of mind cultivation could not smoothly advance to Emperor Wu's realm. In order to obtain the 2 treasures left behind in Great God Jin Yuan's cave, he finally chose to suppress the thunder tribulation caused by the 9 tribulations pill. His purpose was to use the baptism of endless thunder tribulation to help him achieve the transformation of his realm and strength by leaps and bounds. Spirit fusion and qi calming was the best method that the strongest ancestral, which had created based on the experience of enduring the endless thunder tribulation. It could directly absorb the thunder and lightning of the thunder tribulation to improve the grade of the body while also being able to survive the thunder tribulation. Although the process of absorbing the thunder and lightning of the thunder tribulation was very painful, the results obtained were very amazing. After waving his hand to send the 2 doppelgangers that had absorbed the thunder and lightning energy to the limit into the victor, Thowling stared at the thunder and lightning that had been forcibly absorbed into the body and the changes and improvement of Yu Haoran's body. When he found that the amount of thunder and lightning in a body could maintain a balance with the thunder and lightning of the thunder tribulation, his eyes were filled with shock, and he could not help but laugh and scold. "Brat, since you already have the means to deal with the endless thunder tribulation, why didn't you tell me in advance? You made me worry about you for such a long time." His nerves that had been tortured by the intense pain had completely fallen into a state of numbness. Yu Haoran did not hear Thowling's laughter and scolding in his sea of consciousness. He had reserved a part of his consciousness in advance and had been paying attention to the situation of the thunder and lightning of the thunder tribulation tempering the body. Since the establishment of martial arts in ancient times, there had been a legend that there were 10 grades in one realm. In other words, every realm had a small realm of the complete 10th grade. Since his reincarnation, under the attention and reminder of Thowling, Yu Haoran had been following the cultivation and the grade of his body since the martial disciple realm. After breaking through the complete 10th grade, he began to break through to the next realm. However, when he reached the martial saint realm, an accident suddenly occurred. He did not know if it was because he was affected by the power of law, or because there was no small realm of the complete 10th grade after the martial saint realm. He used all kinds of methods, and even Thowling did not hesitate to use a trace of the original power of the victor, but he still could not make his body and cultivation enter the complete 10th grade of the martial saint realm. Forced by reality, Yu Haoran finally chose to use the blessing of the hidden dragon luck to suddenly enter the martial saint realm. However, after the thunder and lightning of the thunder tribulation merged with the ancestral sorcerer's body, Yu Haoran suddenly found that his body was like a child who had been hungry for a long time. In front of sweet and delicious milk, he desperately sucked it. And this feeling of hunger was not a state that a body that had just advanced to the peak of the 9th grade of the martial saint realm should have. Chapter 1539. The Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress. Yu Haoran was worried that the small part of his divine sense he had reserved in advance was not comprehensive enough for the physical examination process. Therefore, after discovering that his mind was gradually awakening from the state of numbness, he hurriedly re-examined him from head to toe, and then said to Thowling with a dignified expression, "Thowling, you and I are both wrong." "Yu Haoran, what happened?" Thowling, who was in a good mood, suddenly asked nervously after hearing Yu Haoran's reminder. Thowling, in fact, the legend that there are 10 levels in one realm is not wrong. The martial sage realm and the martial venerable realm both have a small realm of the complete level 10. Yu Haoran replied bitterly. Yu Haoran's bitter reply stunned Thowling for a moment, and then his eyes revealed a look of shock. At first, when he found that his cultivation and physical grade could not be smoothly promoted to the complete level 10, he and Yu Haoran had discussed this problem for nearly a day and a night. The final result was that, limited by the influence of the power of law, the small realm of the complete level 10 stopped at the martial sage realm. Now, Yu Haoran told him that the result of the discussion was wrong. The martial sage realm and the martial venerable realm both had the hope of breaking through to the complete level 10, which shocked Thowling and made him feel a strong sense of regret. Because this represented that in the first 2 stages of the 4 stages of martial arts cultivation, Yu Haoran's efforts to break through to the complete level 10 of the martial arts realm were in vain. Originally, Thowling wanted to break through to the eternal realm by relying on the complete level 10 that no one had ever succeeded in. This also made him feel endless regret in his heart, and then he fell into a deep self-blame. "Yu Haoran, I'm sorry. It's all because of my carelessness that you may lose the hope of breaking through to a higher realm in the future." "Thowling, don't blame yourself. This has nothing to do with you. Giving up on trying to break through to the 10th grade martial saint realm and then using the huge amount of hidden dragon luck to break through to the peak of the martial saint realm was not only the result of his and Thowling's discussion, but it was also forced by the cruel reality. Therefore, in the face of Thowling's self-reproachful apology, Yu Haoran quickly comforted him. Then, he put away the complicated emotions in his heart and asked with a serious expression, "Thowling, if you use your true victor, how long can you resist the endless thunder tribulation?" Earlier, when he had used his consciousness to re-examine his body, Yu Haoran had discovered that skipping the 10th grade of the martial saint realm had greatly affected the grade of his fleshly body and his cultivation base. At the same time, he also found that there was a fatal flaw between the realm of the Great Mystery Heart Sutra and the realm of the self-created Heavenly Mandate Heart Sutra. Therefore, after thinking about it again and again, he decided to destroy his cultivation base of the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm and use his self-created Heavenly Mandate Heart Sutra to cultivate from the martial disciple realm again. However, the premise was that Thowling had to take the initiative to resist the thunder tribulation for him for a period of time. After all, if he cultivated from the beginning, he would need to remove the defense of the ancestral witch's fleshly body and lose his soul and mind, and he would not be able to activate the wishful bell to protect himself. Just relying on the defense of the true victor, I can hold on for 3 hours. Yu Haoran's comfort did not make Thaling completely wake up from his regret and self-blame, so he did not notice the determination in Yu Haoran's tone when he asked about resisting the endless thunder tribulation. He just replied instinctively, "If I use the power of the origin, I should be able to hold on for 5 to 6 hours." Destroying his cultivation base only destroyed the energy in his dantian, the sea of consciousness, and the grade of his fleshly body. It had no effect on the comprehension of the realm and the power of the law that he controlled. Relying on the spiritual veins, spiritual chi, the hidden dragon luck, and the power of thunder and lightning, it would take about 2 to 3 hours for his cultivation base to return to the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm. At that time, if he continued to use the strongest ancestral witch's secret technique and the complete version of the great devouring technique, it would probably take a long time for him to reach the peak of the 10th grade martial saint realm and the grade of his fleshly body. After all, when he carefully checked his body just now, he had already touched the comprehension and means to break through the martial saint realm and the peak of the 10th grade martial saint realm. After careful consideration, and then combined with the rich harvest after cultivating again, Yu Haoran, who had eliminated the last trace of hesitation in his heart, took the initiative to disperse the ancestral witch's transformation and ordered Thaling. "Sorry, I'll have to trouble you to temporarily resist the endless thunder tribulation for me for a period of time." "Yu Haoran, what do you want to do?" Yu Haoran's order and his initiative to disperse the ancestral witch's transformation made Thaling suddenly have a bad feeling in his heart, and he quickly asked loudly. In the face of the endless thunder tribulation, which was known as the tribulation of death, destroying one's cultivation base was almost the same as directly sending oneself to death. Yu Haoran knew that the cautious Thaling would definitely strongly oppose, and might even directly interrupt the action of destroying one's cultivation base. Therefore, after forcibly extracting the 3 souls and 7 spirits in his divine soul and directly destroying his dantian, sea of consciousness, and fleshly body, he finally exposed his plan. "Thaling, I want to start all over again." "You're crazy." Due to the destruction of his divine soul, the space of the entire sea of consciousness began to collapse. Thaling, who brought Yu Haoran's 3 souls and 7 spirits back to the main body of Victor, roared hoarsely. At the same time, countless experts around the stands also looked like fools at Yu Haoran, whose body was rapidly shrinking and whose cultivation base was constantly falling. "Big sister, what is the prince consort doing?" Qin Lingfei asked with a pale face. She had finally managed to calm herself down, but when she saw Yu Haoran's cultivation level dropping, she fell into a state of panic once more. The sword without trace and Wu Zhengjuan's faces were also as white as paper in an instant. Yusiki, who suddenly opened her eyes, did not answer Qin Lingfei's question. She instantly took out a low-grade Emperor's sword and directly intended to rush towards the endless thunder tribulation at the same time. "If you don't want to die, stop immediately." But just as Yusiki rose less than 3 meters into the air, a powerful force directly suppressed her, and then the cold voice of Zhongli Shuiqin sounded in her ear. "Sister Suijin, what is the prince consort doing?" Compared to the cold and silent Yusiki, the warm and knowledgeable Zhongli Shuiqin was much easier to get along with. Therefore, after seeing Zhongli Shuiqin appear in the stands, Qin Lingfei immediately rushed in front of her and asked in a hurried tone. Seeing that Yu Haoran was about to complete the process of self-destruction, Zhongli Shuiqin sighed with a complicated expression. "Phoenix Nirvana, fire rebirth." "Shuiqin, be more specific." Chapter 1540. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress Grandstand. Looking at Wu Zhengjun tenderly, Zhongli Shuiqin explained with a serious expression. "According to my observation just now, When Elixir Emperor, you relied on the secret method of transformation to absorb the endless lightning energy of the thunder tribulation to increase his cultivation. He must have discovered a very serious hidden danger in his body. This hidden danger may affect his hopes of breaking through to a higher realm in the future. Therefore, I speculate that he wants to use the method of destroying his Dantian, soul, and physical body. Then, through the process of cultivation, he can eliminate the hidden danger in his body. After hearing Zhongli Shuiqin's explanation and speculations, the countless spectators on the south side of the grandstand could not help but gasp. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. With the cultivation of a peak 9th grade martial honorable, not only did he have the noble status and power to influence the situation in the Tianxin continent, he also had a lifespan of 5,000 years. Just because of a hidden danger in his body, he directly gave up everything he once had under the endless lightning tribulation. The spectators on the south side of the grandstand who were familiar with and understood Yu Haoran did not know whether to praise his courage or mock his stupidity and ignorance. Senior, you will succeed. Looking at Yu Haoran, who had returned to his original form and was sitting cross-legged on the stage, Wu Zhengjuan's heart was still burning with anxiety. However, he silently blessed and prayed for him. Prince Consort, rest assured and star new. If you unfortunately die under the endless lightning tribulation, then Ling Fei will immediately come to accompany you. I will not let you be alone. Looking at Yu Haoran's determined face, Qin Ling Fei did not blame him for his overly selfish actions. Instead, her eyes were filled with endless tenderness and determination as she prepared to die for him. Ling Fei, I will accompany you to accompany Junior Yu. Walking to Qin Ling Fei's side and then tightly holding her left hand, the sword without trace said with the same tenderness and determination, "Without trace." Turning her head to look at the sword without trace, Qin Ling Fei softly exclaimed as a trace of mist appeared in her eyes. Looking at Qin Ling Fei and the sword without trace standing side by side, and recalling their love for Yu Haoran, Zhongli Shuiqin, who was deeply moved, could not help but look at Wu Zhengjun. If Senior safely passes through the lightning tribulation and agrees to be with me, I will be devoted to you. Wu Zhengjun, who was also touched by Qin Ling Fei and the sword without trace, revealed his true feelings for the first time in his life. June! Zhongli Shuiqin shouted emotionally as she appeared beside Wu Zhengjun in a flash and took the initiative to hold his hand. Destroying one's own cultivation under the endless lightning tribulation. Even a martial god would not be able to escape death. Yu Haoran will definitely die this time. As a mighty expert who was about to reach the level of Emperor Wu, Elder Shang also guessed the reason why Yu Haoran destroyed his own cultivation. Seeing that Yu Haoran's aura had already fallen to the martial warrior realm, and then looking up at the lightning tribulation that washed down like a waterfall, Elder Shang immediately shouted excitedly. Elder Shang's proud shout immediately attracted a strong response from many experts who had personal grudges with Yu Haoran, as well as those who did not like him. Elder Shang is right. I think that Yu is too arrogant, so arrogant that he does not know the immensity of heaven and earth, and in the end, made a stupid move to seek his own death. Yu is a jinx to be able to die under the endless lightning tribulation. It can be said that the heavens have opened their eyes, and the Tianxin continent has a quiet and peaceful cultivation environment. Just as many experts and the surrounding spectators stands mocked and ridiculed Yu Haoran and concluded that Yu Haoran would definitely die under the endless lightning tribulation. Thaling, who had shouted himself hoarse, gnashed his teeth as he threatened, and at the same time mobilized his main body, the victor, to block the endless lightning tribulation for him. Stinking brat, I think you're all grown up now. You actually dare to destroy your own cultivation and start from scratch without discussing it with me. Stinking brat, just you wait. After you safely pass through the endless lightning tribulation, I will let you have a taste of my Thaling's torture methods. Because Thaling's 3 immortal souls and 7 mortal souls were brought back to the victor in time. Yu Haoran heard all his complaints and threats clearly. At the same time, he could not help but shudder, and hurriedly adjusted his state of mind and started cultivating again, so as to reduce the time that Thowling had to withstand the endless lightning tribulation and to reduce the dissatisfaction and anger in his heart. He took a deep breath and carefully sensed the spiritual chi in the spirit vein in front of him. It only took him 1 second to successfully sense the pure spiritual chi contained in the spirit vein, and then it took him another 2 seconds to use the heavenly cultivation method to successfully guide the pure spiritual chi into his body. With the experience of starting from scratch twice, he created a heavenly cultivation method that was far superior to the Great Mystery Heart Sutra, coupled with the pure spiritual chi in the spirit vein and a huge amount of hidden dragon luck. Yu Haoran's cultivation rose rapidly, as if he was sitting a rocket. In 2 minutes, his cultivation had successfully advanced to the martial warrior realm. In 5 minutes, his cultivation had successfully advanced to the martial master realm. In 10 minutes, after reopening his knowledge sea and successfully condensing his soul, his cultivation had successfully advanced to the martial ancestor realm. In 20 minutes, his cultivation had successfully advanced to the martial king realm. In 40 minutes, his cultivation had successfully advanced to the martial emperor realm. In 1 hour and 20 minutes, his cultivation had also successfully advanced to the martial sage realm after comprehending the power of the laws of life and death again. Brat, for you, Thowling, have really put in a lot of effort this time. Seeing that Yu Haoran's cultivation had returned to the martial sage realm after spending a total of 2.5 hours, Thowling felt gratified, but at the same time, he could not help but grumble angrily. This was because the victor could only withstand the baptism of the endless lightning tribulation for 3 hours. After this, Yu Haoran still needed to continue advancing from the 1st grade to the 9th grade of the martial sage realm. At the same time, he also needed to break through to the 10th grade of the martial sage realm. Half an hour was definitely not enough. Therefore, Thowling could only use the victor's origin energy to buy him more time to cultivate. Thowling, you don't need to use the victor's origin energy. Just as Thowling was mobilizing the victor's origin energy, the newly condensed soul reminded him, Yu Haoran, if I don't use the origin energy, I can only last for half an hour at most. Thowling was puzzled and could not help but remind Yu Haoran, Thowling, I will restore the ancestral witch's physical body and use the ancestral witch's inherited secret technique and the great devouring technique to increase my cultivation. Therefore, you only need to bear half of the power of the lightning tribulation for me. Yu Haoran was full of confidence as he reactivated the ancestral witch's transformation. Chapter 1541. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. I've been reborn. I've been reborn. Without answering Thowling's question in detail, Yu Haoran sighed and signaled Thowling to release half of the thunder tribulation. Success. When Zhongli Shueqin saw Yu Haoran, who had once again transformed into a grand wizard, and his body began to integrate with the lightning energy of the endless thunder tribulation, she cheered in surprise and quickly explained to Wu Jingjun, Qin Lingfei, and the rest. Although Elixir Emperor Yu's cultivation has only recultivated to the early 1st grade of martial sage, his special transformation can absorb the thunder and lightning of the thunder tribulation, which means that in the process of recultivation just now, not only has he eliminated the hidden dangers in his body, but also his strength has undergone an unimaginable and shocking change. Therefore, not only is he not in any danger now, but he also has a great chance of surviving the endless thunder tribulation and completely completing the rebirth of a phoenix. Without trace, did you hear it just now? Prince Consort is safe. After hearing Zhongli Shueqin's explanation, Qin Lingfei, whose heart was instantly filled with endless joy, shook Sword Without Trace's arm hard and shouted with tears in her eyes. Yes, I heard it. Sword Without Trace, whose heart was also filled with unintentional joy, nodded heavily, and then quietly wiped away the 2 drops of happy tears that flowed from the corners of his eyes because of too much excitement and joy just now. Yusiki, who had been holding the low-grade martial emperor's sword tightly, secretly breathed a sigh of relief and immediately emitted a trace of aura that was even colder than Wu Qing's. Kong Yong-ah, who was standing behind everyone, silently shed tears of regret. Because just after Zhongli Shuiqin explained and speculated about Yu Haoran's actions in detail, the thought that emerged in her heart was actually to blame Yu Haoran's behavior for being too selfish. No matter what he did not care about the thoughts and feelings of others. It was precisely because of the strong dissatisfaction in her heart that she chose to retreat silently when Qin Lingfei and the sword without trace expressed their willingness to die for love. Now, as Yu Haoran had passed through the most dangerous situation, she knew that an irreparable rift had formed between her and Yu Haoran, Qin Lingfei, and the sword without trace. In the future, they would never be able to return to their intimate relationship. Shang Jinlin, does your face hurt now? Yuan Sanxiong, who was sitting on a stone chair at the top of the spectator stand, asked with a strange smile as he watched Yu Haoran transform back into a towering giant and begin to absorb the lightning of the thunder tribulation successfully. Sect Master Yuan, what did you mean by that? Shang Jinlin, the elder of the Shang family, who had a gloomy expression on his face, did not understand the meaning behind Yuan Sanxiong's words at all. Face slapping. Seeing that Shang Jinlin did not notice the sarcasm in his tone just now, Yuan Sanxiong's eyes revealed a trace of contempt as he explained. You kept saying that Yu Haoran would die for sure. Not only is he safe and sound now, but he can also return to the ranks of the top experts. Isn't this a slap in the face? Could it be that your skin is as thick as the city walls? This level of face slapping has no effect on you. Yuan Sanxiong was very worried that Yu Haoran had taken the risk of destroying his own cultivation and then cultivating again, because he had not completed the promise of refining the second-order, first-grade, heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir. At this time, Shang Jinlin had confidently judged that Yu Haoran would definitely die under the endless thunder tribulation, which made him feel even more irritated. Therefore, he deliberately mocked and ridiculed Yu Haoran after he had safely passed through the most dangerous stage. Yuan Sanxiong, is your heavenly demon sect declaring war on my Shang family? Shang Jinlin, who was deeply humiliated by such a straightforward explanation, immediately threatened him furiously. Sure, Yuan Sanxiong said with a sinister smile as he stood up and stretched his neck. But before we officially declare war, I can first wring your head off, Shang Jinlin. Sect Master Yuan, Elder Shang, if you don't want to be baptized by the endless thunder tribulation, you'd better sit back down obediently. The Supreme Elder of the Yushu Temple, who had a secret alliance with the Shang family, did not want to see anything happen to his ally. He hurriedly reminded them solemnly. Yuan Sanxiong, after the endless thunder tribulation, if you have the guts, don't leave the hidden dragon fortress in advance. The Supreme Elder of the Yushu Temple's reminder made Shang Jinlin even more fearlessly provoke him. Don't worry, I still need Elixir Emperor Yu to help me refine the elixir, so I won't leave the hidden dragon fortress in advance. I also need to reconsider Shang Hongyu's status and see if he is still qualified to be on equal footing with us. Yuan Sanxiong returned to his stone chair in an even more overbearing manner as he sat back down. Break for me. With the support of the hidden dragon luck, the absorption of the thunder tribulation, and the devouring great art, Yu Haoran's cultivation recovered to the peak of the 9th grade martial saint in less than an hour. Then, based on the insights he had gained from breaking through to the martial saint and martial saint realm, after inspecting his own condition before destroying his cultivation, he started to break through to the peak of the martial saint realm and the grade of his fleshly body. After 3 continuous breakthroughs, as the bottleneck of cultivation and the 10th grade martial saint realm was broken, he finally succeeded in reaching the 10th grade martial saint realm. At the same time, Emperor Wu's mental cultivation that could not smoothly break through to the 10th grade martial saint realm showed signs of a breakthrough. Just by blocking half of the lightning tribulation, the pagoda spirit was able to last longer. At the same time, it was able to divert more of its attention to Yu Haoran's breakthrough. After seeing that Yu Haoran had successfully reached the 10th grade martial saint realm, Thaling was extremely surprised. He immediately used the limit of his divine sense to check the changes of Yu Haoran, who had reached the new realm. However, what surprised Thaling was that the powerful divine sense of the demigod realm could not enter his body. This meant that Yu Haoran, who was only at the 10th grade martial saint realm, already had the strength to resist the divine sense of a demigod realm expert. At the same time, Thaling could not help but look forward to Yu Haoran's breakthrough. He hoped that Yu Haoran could use the opportunity of the heavenly tribulation and the child of destiny to break through to the immortal realm, which no one had ever succeeded in. Thaling, take back the victor, as his cultivation in the 10th grade martial saint realm successfully reached the 10th grade martial saint realm. The energy of half of the Thunder Tribulation's lightning could not satisfy the speed of his cultivation. Yu Haoran hurriedly ordered Thaling. Okay. Without any hesitation, he took back the victor and returned to Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness. Then, Thaling was completely stunned. If Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness before he destroyed his cultivation was like a vast ocean, then now it was like a continent. Chapter 1542. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. Since Yu Haoran had allowed him to re-enter the sea of consciousness, it meant that Yu Haoran had released the seal on himself. Thaling immediately used his divine sense to observe his dantian. Immediately after, he was also greatly shocked. If Yu Haoran's dantian was a lake before, then it was now a bottomless sea. His divine sense becomes a land, his dantian becomes a sea, he will definitely become a supreme. Looking at the sea of consciousness that was comparable to a continent and the dantian that was like a vast ocean, Thaling immediately thought of the prerequisites for cultivation that the Bell of Chaos had mentioned before. If Yu Haoran can become a supreme in a short time, with his identity as the Son of Destiny, he will be able to obtain more opportunities for the tribulation of heaven and earth. Then, there will be more hope for him to break through to the immortal realm. Thinking of the various advantages Yu Haoran would have after becoming a supreme, Thaling looked at Yu Haoran with burning expectations. With the baptism of more thunder tribulations, the complete 10th grade martial saint realm would soon reach its limit. With the experience of breaking through to the martial honorable realm, he did not need to break through one by one this time. Therefore, Yu Haoran directly raised his head and opened his mouth, relying on swallowing to increase the amount of thunder tribulations he absorbed. Then, with the help of the hidden dragon luck and the secret method of spirit fusion and chi tai, he launched a fierce attack on the peak martial honorable realm. Boom! A dark thunder that was far more powerful than the thunder tribulations sounded from Yu Haoran's body, which also indicated that his cultivation had reached the peak martial honorable realm again. All right, the endless thunder tribulations are no longer a threat to Pill Emperor Yu. As Yu Haoran's cultivation returned to the peak martial honorable realm, Zhongli Shui Qin turned her head and said to Qin Lingfei and the others. Looking at each other, Qin Lingfei and the sword without trace heaved a sigh of relief and smiled happily at the same time. Shifting her gaze from Qin Lingfei and the sword without trace to Wu Zhengjun, Zhongli Shui Qin reminded gently, "Little Jun, don't forget the promise you just made to me." Wu Zhengjun's face instantly flushed red. He lowered his head in embarrassment, not knowing how to respond to Zhongli Shui Qin's reminder. "Sister Sui Jin, don't worry. As your sister-in-law, I will make the decision for you and Zhengjun." Qin Lingfei, who was in a relaxed mood, just happened to hear Zhongli Shui Qin's voice reminding Wu Zhengjun. She hurriedly turned around and patted her chest in assurance. "If Zhengjun, this brat, dares to betray Sister Sijin's affection, I will let Prince Consort force him to calculate you and admit his mistake." "Little Jun, did you hear that?" Although Qin Lingfei's strength was not strong and the power of the Emperor Qin Kingdom behind her was average, her status as the official wife was just enough to influence Yu Haoran's thoughts. With Wu Zhengjun's character of obeying Yu Haoran, Qin Lingfei's guarantee was quite useful. Therefore, Zhongli Shui Qin could not help but boast proudly. Sigh. Thinking of how much his senior brother loved Qin Lingfei, and how much importance Qin Lingfei placed on Zhongli Shuiqin, Wu Jingju knew that he would definitely be firmly suppressed by Zhongli Shuiqin in the future. He immediately sighed helplessly. Hee. This also made Zhongli Shuiqin and Qin Lingfei unable to help but laugh happily. Fouling. How long until the endless lightning tribulation ends? After his cultivation reached the peak of the 7th grade martial honorable realm, Yu Haoran vaguely felt that the endless lightning tribulation was gradually unable to support the speed of his cultivation. He immediately asked worriedly. After all, the real purpose of using the medicinal pill to suppress the aura of the nine tribulations pill to trigger the endless lightning tribulation was to attack Emperor Wu's physical body grade. As long as his physical body grade could successfully reach the Emperor Wu's almighty realm, then with his strength that could challenge beyond his rank, he would be able to deal with the almighty realm experts who had just broken through to the Emperor Wu's realm. As for the Emperor Wu's almighty realm experts who had just woken up, they would need a period of time to readjust their state in order to recover the energy that they had consumed during their deep sleep. This would give him precious time to find the space crystal and fight for the fruit of the void. There's less than 2 hours left. The Tower Genie replied, after some calculations. In less than 2 hours, not to mention breaking through to the Emperor Wu's physical body grade, it might not even be enough for him to reach the complete 10th grade martial honorable realm. Thinking of this, Yu Haoran knew that he had to take a risk and fight for it once. Otherwise, he would lose this opportunity that he had worked so hard to obtain. From the storage ring and the victor, he directly took out 3 upper rank 6 spiritual veins and 3 drops of spiritual liquid of all medicines and swallowed them. Then, with the help of the spiritual veins, the spiritual force of all medicines, and the power of the lightning tribulation, he accelerated the speed of breaking through to the peak of the 9th grade martial honorable realm. 40 minutes later, after successfully reaching the peak of the 9th grade martial honorable realm, Yu Haoran directly stood up and raised his head to look at the dark clouds that were still filled with endless lightning. Yu Haoran, if you enter the dark clouds of the lightning tribulation as a spiritual body, I can only hide in the victor. No matter what danger you encounter, I won't be able to help you in time. Although Yu Haoran did not explicitly state what he wanted to do, Fouling had fully witnessed his courage. There was no need to think too much to know that he wanted to directly use the power of the lightning tribulation in the dark clouds of the lightning tribulation to break through to the complete 10th grade martial honorable realm. With regards to this, he did not flatly refuse, nor did he readily agree. He only explained the various consequences of taking a risk. I know. After nodding in response, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and directly charged into the dark clouds of the lightning tribulation in the sky. My God, Pill Emperor Yu is trying to scare people to death. The endless lightning tribulation, which was known as the tribulation of death, had already shocked the crowd to the core. The fact that he had destroyed his own cultivation and started cultivating again made the crowd tremble with fear. Now, just as the crowd was prepared to welcome the arrival of a miracle, Yu Haoran directly charged into the dark clouds of the lightning tribulation. This made the great elder from the Bailey family sigh in admiration. With regards to this, the group of people who had a good relationship with Yu Haoran nodded in agreement. As for the group of people who had a normal relationship with Yu Haoran and who had a grudge against him, they only prayed in their hearts that he would die in the dark clouds of the lightning tribulation. However, they only thought in their hearts and did not dare to proudly say it out loud. After all, the experience of being slapped in the face had just passed. They did not want to be slapped in the face again. Yu Haoran, wait until the endless lightning tribulation is over. See how I'll deal with you. Qin Lingfei, who had suffered a strong impact in her heart, did not panic and cry bitterly this time. However, she could not help but gnash her teeth in hatred. Sister-in-law, perhaps this is the important reason why Pill Emperor you can achieve such shocking results at such a young age. Chapter 1543. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, South Grandstand. As a direct descendant of the clan with the highest purity bloodline and the potential to reach higher realms in the future, Zhongli Shuiqin had a very high status in the Zhongli clan. Not only could she freely enter many forbidden areas in the clan, but she could also read some taboo records and understand many secrets that the world didn't know. The few Supremes with the highest achievements in the Middle Ages all had a similar growth experience as Yu Haoran before they became Supremes. That was when one clearly possessed top-notch monstrous potential and had a bright future ahead of them. They would often force themselves into desperate situations where there was a slim chance of survival in order to stimulate their own limitless potential. In other words, even though Yu Haoran's cultivation was only at the peak of 9th grade martial venerable, he already had the firm martial heart of his Supremes. No wonder he doesn't like me. The gap between us is like the difference between clouds and mud. Huangfu Xiuying, who was watching from the East Grandstand, had a shocked expression in her eyes as she watched Yu Haoran rush into the dark clouds of the Thunder Tribulation. At the same time, she was sincerely convinced. As for Xia Qianxi, Yuan Haofei, Wu Dao, and the others, besides being convinced, they also felt powerless, as if they couldn't catch up and surpass him. Boom! As one of the top Thunder Tribulations in the world, the endless Thunder Tribulations could be said to represent the will of heaven and the punishment of fate. When all living creatures faced the endless Thunder Tribulations, they all trembled as if they were treading on thin ice, afraid that they would be killed by the Thunder Tribulations if they were careless. No living creature had ever dared to directly attack the energy source of the endless Thunder Tribulations like Yu Haoran. Originally, the dark clouds had only gathered in a radius of 99 million square kilometers. However, under the provocation of the heavens' consciousness, the area where the dark clouds gathered directly broke through the limits of the endless lightning tribulations. Soon, it exceeded 10 million square kilometers, 13 million square kilometers, 17 million square kilometers, and finally reached an area of almost 20 million square kilometers. With the gathering of nearly 20 million kilometers of dark clouds, the amount of thunderbolts condensed in the dark clouds had far exceeded the amount of thunderbolts before the endless thunderbolt started. This also made Yu Haoran, who had rushed into the dark clouds, couldn't help but roar in excitement. Then he sat cross-legged in the middle of the thunder calamity and unleashed his devouring skill without hesitation. With the help of the rich and pure thunder energy, he started to break through to the complete rank 10 martial honorable realm. If the first time didn't work, then a second time. If the second time didn't work, then he would try the third time or the fifth time. Anyway, he had an endless amount of thunder energy gathered around him. Yu Haoran didn't feel bad about wasting thunder energy, nor was he worried about lacking a source of energy to break through to the next realm. In the end, after 9 violent attacks, his cultivation and physical body had both advanced to the complete grade 10 martial honorable realm. The moment his cultivation advanced to the complete grade 10 martial honorable realm, Yu Haoran's physical body under his blue robe suddenly became transparent. With just the naked eye, one could clearly see his internal organs, meridians, and blood vessels, as well as the huge penis that made countless men envious and jealous. A sparkling and translucent body, a perfect and flawless body. Looking at the crystal-like transparent body, Thowling was shocked and lost his voice. He hurriedly reminded Yu Haoran loudly. Yu Haoran, the complete grade 10 martial honorable realm has allowed you to enter the special state of perfect body. Now, immediately use the opportunity to break through to the Emperor Wu's physical body grade. After successfully advancing to the complete grade 10 martial honorable realm, the energy requirement for cultivation immediately increased by dozens of times. Yu Haoran originally wanted to use the energy of the Thunder Calamity to raise the complete grade 10 martial honorable realm to the limit, and then find a way to break through to the Emperor Wu's physical body grade. However, after hearing Thowling's reminder, Yu Haoran, who had some understanding of the special state of perfect body, immediately knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him to complete the plan he had made before. Without the slightest hesitation, the secret method of spirit fusion and chi inherited from the strongest ancestor of sorcery, together with the devouring technique and the hidden dragon luck, began to fiercely break through to the Emperor Wu's physical body grade. With Yu Haoran's crazy devouring and absorption, the huge amount of thunder calamity lightning that had gathered together with great difficulty immediately decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. This also made the dark clouds of thunder calamity, which represented the will of heaven, show a trace of fear and want to retreat. Damn the endless thunder calamity, you coward, come back. Yu Haoran, who was about to succeed in breaking through to the physical body grade, suddenly felt the energy of the thunder calamity lightning begin to decrease at an accelerated rate. He immediately opened his eyes and glanced, and found that the dark clouds of thunder calamity lightning were gradually dissipating. The thunder calamity lightning was the key for him to break through to the Emperor Wu's physical body grade. The dissipation of the endless thunder calamity lightning was equal to forcibly restraining his opportunity to break through. How could this not make him feel extremely angry? How could he not roar and humiliate the endless thunder calamity lightning again to continue gathering the energy of the thunder calamity lightning to help his physical body grade to successfully break through to the Emperor Wu's physical body grade? Originally, with the expansion of the area where the dark clouds of thunder calamity lightning gathered, the amount of thunder calamity lightning gathered increased, which made the people on the scene suddenly feel nervous. However, after Yu Haoran's angry roar and humiliating voice came from the dark clouds of thunder calamity lightning, all the people on the surrounding stands were stunned like fools. The endless thunder calamity lightning, which was known as one of the three calamities of death, in the eyes of Yu Haoran, had become a coward and a target for him to scold and humiliate at will. This strong contrast had a great impact on the hearts of the people on the scene. Brother Yuanqing, did I have an illusion just now? I seem to have heard Elixir Emperor you scolding and humiliating the endless thunder calamity. The highest elder from the Bailey family asked Gu Yuanqing, who was from the Gu family and whose cultivation had reached the second calamity quasi, Emperor Wu realm, with a dull expression. Slap! A crisp and clear slap in the face made the highest elder from the Bailey family immediately wake up from his stupor. Then he asked angrily, Gu Yuanqing, why did you slap me? Brother Pingtsuan, didn't you feel that you had an illusion just now? It's like a slap in the face. It should wake you up from the illusion. Gu Yuanqing explained with a smile. Gu Yuanqing, you... In the face of Gu Yuanqing's shameless explanation, Bailey Pingtsuan suddenly did not know what to criticize. After all, he had a good personal relationship with Gu Yuanqing. What Gu Yuanqing did just now was half a joke and half was sincerely thinking for him. Chapter 1544. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Grandstand. No. Bailey Pingtsuan narrowed his eyes and recalled carefully. Then, he shook his head and said solemnly, Brother Yuanqing, according to the detailed records left behind in the Bailey family sutra depository, there is no one who can safely pass through the endless thunder tribulation, let alone someone who can casually berate and humiliate the endless thunder tribulation. Brother Pingtsuan, what kind of person do you think there is in this world who can look down on the endless thunder tribulation that represents the will of heaven? Gu Yuanqing asked with a trace of doubt in his eyes as he looked up at the rapidly disappearing thunder tribulation clouds. In response, Bailey Pingtsuan shook his head in silence. Zhongli Shuiqin frowned slightly as she looked up at the endless thunder tribulation that was still surging with dazzling thunder and lightning above the hidden dragon fortress. Her eyes were also filled with doubt. In terms of understanding of the endless thunder tribulation, if the Zhongli family claimed to be second, then no one in the entire Tianxian continent would claim to be first. The reason was that since the evergreen ancestor in the Middle Ages, there were a total of 9 ancestors and ancestors of the Zhongli family who had been baptized by the endless thunder tribulation. 5 of them had safely passed through the baptism of the thunder tribulation, while the other 4 had fallen under the thunder tribulation. Therefore, in the Zhongli family sutra depository, there were very detailed records of the endless thunder tribulation's power and what it represented. If there was anyone in this world who could not only easily pass through the endless thunder tribulation, but also berate and humiliate the will of heaven, then it could only be the legendary eternal immortal and the child of destiny who started and ended the tribulation of heaven and earth. The eternal immortal was only a legend. It was an ethereal realm that was impossible to advance to. At the same time, according to the ancestor of the family who was proficient in divination and the carefree Valley Master's prediction, the child of destiny who started and ended the tribulation of heaven and earth was very likely to be the master of the Yushu Temple. Then, how did Yu Haoran, who did not possess these 2 conditions, achieve this step? Fowling, lend me a hand. Yu Haoran saw that the boundless tribulation lightning didn't seem to be enraged by his scolding and humiliation. Instead, it continued to slowly disperse. Yu Haoran, who was already at the critical juncture of his breakthrough, had no choice but to use other methods to help him break through. All right, Fowling, who was aware of the severity of the situation, responded without hesitation. He immediately extracted a portion of the victor's origin energy and channeled it directly into Yu Haoran's body. At the same time, Yu Haoran hurriedly took out all the spiritual veins and high-quality spiritual stones in his storage ring. Then, using the pure spiritual qi in the spiritual veins and spiritual stones to supplement the remaining thunder tribulation, he launched the final attack on Emperor Wu's physical body. Pah! Accompanied by a crisp cracking sound, a terrifying suction force, like that of a black hole, quickly formed within Yu Haoran's body. The terrifying suction force forcibly gathered and absorbed the tribulation lightning that wanted to disperse. Even the black clouds that were gathering and condensing the tribulation lightning were not spared. In the end, it devoured all the remaining thunder tribulations, spirit veins, and spirit stones. Looking at Yu Haoran, who was standing in the air above the hidden dragon fortress, like a god that had descended to the mortal world, some experts with poor mental fortitude felt an impulse to believe and believe in him. As for those top experts with strong mental fortitude, although they did not have the impulse to believe and believe in him, deep fear appeared in their eyes. Because at this moment, Yu Haoran gave them a very dangerous feeling. This feeling was like the extraordinary Zhongli Shueqin, or the domineering and fierce Yuan Sanqiu. Yu Haoran, how is it? Consuming the origin energy of the victor was equivalent to directly weakening the strength of the spiritual body of the device spirit. Therefore, Fowling, whose aura was somewhat weak, asked expectantly while recovering his strength with the Buddha Sarira that he had obtained from Wuxing, the physical body has successfully advanced to the early stage of Emperor Wu's level 1 realm. Feeling the terrifying power in his body that was enough to break through the void, Yu Haoran could not suppress the excitement in his heart as he replied, "What about the strength that can be exerted?" After receiving Yu Haoran's confirmation and detailed reply, Fowling, who was also in ecstasy, was even more eager to know what kind of improvement in his strength would be brought about by advancing to the early stage of Emperor Wu's level 1 realm. If I use the life and death dual martial technique and the strength dual martial technique, I can draw with the powerful expert who has just advanced to the Emperor Wu's level. Carefully feeling the changes in the strength in his body, Yu Haoran said confidently, "If I use the ancestral witch's physical body and the martial technique of the 12 ancestral witches' inheritance, then I can defeat the powerful expert who has just advanced to the Emperor Wu's level." Yu Haoran, are you sure? Fowling asked in disbelief. Although Yu Haoran's talent and potential were very outstanding, and he had mastered the memory inheritance of the 12 ancestral witches of ancient times, but he could defeat the powerful expert who had advanced to the Emperor Wu's level with just the breakthrough of his physical body. This kind of transformation in strength was too shocking. Fowling, of course, it's not possible to just have a breakthrough of the physical body. Being able to understand Fowling's incredulous doubts, Yu Haoran dispelled the transformation of the ancestral witch and explained with great excitement. If the state of mind cultivation, Yuan Li, and soul power have all reached the limit of the 10 complete realm of the top martial venerable, and have the hope of directly advancing to the Emperor Wu's level. Yu Haoran, what do you mean? Faling, who could not suppress the shock in his heart, wanted to say it with a trembling voice, but could not say his guess. Faling, your guess is right. While slowly flying to the central square, Yu Haoran directly said Faling's inner thoughts. Next, as long as the control of the dual laws of life and death that I mainly cultivate reaches the limit, then I can directly advance to the Emperor Wu's level. At this point, Yu Haoran glanced at the several top experts at the top of the stands, and continued with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Pagoda spirit, if there are no accidents, I will definitely be able to become a true almighty expert in the profound sky continent in 5 months at the shortest and 8 at the longest. Yu Haoran, don't disturb me for the time being. I need some time to adjust my emotions. Yu Haoran had confirmed its suspicions and even gave a specific time to break through to Martial Emperor. This caused the tower spirit to feel incredibly shocked, and at the same time, it also felt that it was slowly losing control of its emotions. The loss of control of his emotions was not only due to the strong psychological impact of Yu Haoran's cultivation and strength transformation, but also had a lot to do with the origin energy consumed by his body. Chapter 1545. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, South Stand. Prince Consort, looking at Yu Haoran, who slowly landed on the south stand, Qin Lingfei, who had already broken down several times in her heart, did not care about the tens of thousands of people present at all. She directly threw herself into the arms of her lover, who made her worried. Lingfei, I'm really sorry for making you worry. After more than 2 years of knowing each other and being together as husband and wife for several months, he could know what Qin Lingfei was thinking with just a look and a movement. Under the gazes of everyone present, she was able to give up the girl's modesty and directly embrace him. This was sufficient to show that his action of facing the boundless lightning tribulation earlier had brought unimaginable psychological impact and pressure to her, and this caused Yu Haoran to be unable to help but take the initiative to apologize while feeling guilty. Prince Consort, since the first day I met you, Lingfei knew that you were someone who was obsessed with martial arts. She also knew that you were someone who was willing to give up everything in order to pursue the peak of martial arts. After hearing Yu Haoran's self-blaming apology, Qin Lingfei raised her head to look at her lover's determined face and said emotionally, "Therefore, Lingfei does not regret her original choice and will respect and support all of your decisions. Now and in the future, you don't have to apologize to Lingfei." Lingfei, with a wife like this, what more could a husband ask for? Facing Qin Lingfei's understanding comfort and support, the touched Yu Haoran did not know what to say and could only hug her even more tightly. Ahem. Although she was very envious of the strong feelings between Yu Haoran and Qin Lingfei, Zhongli Shuiqin could only use a light cough to remind them to restrain their emotions a little when she thought that there were more important things to say next. Zhongli Shuiqin's light cough made Yu Haoran and Qin Lingfei gradually calm down from their emotional state. He reached out to hold Qin Lingfei's jade hand and then led her to Yusiki. Yu Haoran also blamed himself and apologized. "Sis, I'm sorry for making you worry. Crippling one's own cultivation in the face of endless lightning tribulations would not only cause shock and speculation among the crowd, it would also make one's family and friends very worried." As a result, when he crippled his cultivation, Yu Haoran had glanced at a few of his family and friends on the stands to the south. He also knew that his sister wanted to charge into the endless lightning tribulation to save him, but Zhongli Shuiqin stopped her in time. To be able to willingly die for him under the influence of the Heartless Realm, Yu Haoran had a feeling in his heart that his sister might be able to surpass the Grand Supremes of the Middle Ages and become the first person to break through the Heartless Realm and advance to the Emotionless Realm. Yusiki coldly glanced at Yu Haoran and reminded him with a frosty voice, Only this once, don't do it again. Yu Haoran smiled nonchalantly and led Qin Lingfei to the sword without trace. Without trace, give me a period of time to adjust. I will give you a satisfactory promise. Looking at the sword without trace, whose eyes were filled with infinite tenderness, but who still abided by her duties, Yu Haoran, who had just undergone a metamorphosis, had some changes in his view of relationships. However, if he wanted to truly accept the sword without trace, he still needed a period of time to adjust and adapt, so he could only give his promise for now. To the sword without trace, Yu Haoran's promise was the most wonderful and blissful thing in her life, so she nodded and replied with even more tenderness in her eyes. Junior brother Yu, I will wait for your promise for the rest of my life. Yu Haoran still didn't dare to open the door to accepting the sword without trace's feelings. The dissatisfied Qin Lingfei took the initiative to shake off his tightly clenched hand, then walked in front of the sword without trace and softly persuaded and promised something. Yu Haoran didn't care about this, nor did he want to eavesdrop. He turned around and walked in front of Wu Xingjun and Zhongli Shuiqin. Miss Shuiqin, you must tell me the truth now. Do you like Zhengjun, or do you love Xingjun deeply? Yu Haoran asked Zhongli Shuiqin as he lightly patted Wu Zhengjun's shoulder, indicating that he shouldn't speak for now. Of course I love Xiaojun deeply. Zhongli Shuiqin immediately replied without the slightest hesitation. If that's the case, as Zhengjun's senior brother and brother, I agree to the relationship between you two. From Zhongli Shuiqin's attitude of answering without hesitation, Yu Haoran already knew her feelings for Wu Xingjun. Now, he had the confidence to confront Emperor Wu with the strength of a powerful expert, which also allowed him to confront the pressure of the Zhongli family and the Guardian families. Therefore, Yu Haoran not only nodded to agree to their relationship, but also took the initiative to make a promise for Wu Xingjun. At the same time, 1 year from today, I will bring Zhengjun to the mansion of the Zhongli family and formally propose marriage to your father. Really? Zhongli Shuiqin asked in disbelief. I, Yu Haoran, am a man of my words and actions. After answering Zhongli Shuiqin's question in a domineering manner, Yu Haoran looked at Kang Yong'a, whose eyes were slightly red and evasive. Jingya, the prince's mansion will always be your home, and the Heart Affinity Pavilion will always be your courtyard. Yushi Xiaonai, when she heard Yu Haoran's promise, Kang Yong'a, who was slightly stunned, burst into tears and wanted to say something, but in the end, she could not say anything. Jingya, in Yu Shixiang's heart, you will always be my sister who needs to be protected. Walking to Kang Yong'a's side, Yu Haoran helped her tidy up the scattered bangs on her forehead and officially gave the final position of their future relationship. Sister forever? Looking at Yu Haoran, who turned and left, Kang Yong'a, whose eyes were instantly replaced by bitterness, suddenly felt disheartened and shook her head. Then, she used the means of telepathy to communicate with Wind-tailed Fox on her shoulder. Xiaofeng, after this matter is over, we will immediately set off for the Tomb of Heaven at the Fengling Cliff. If we don't succeed, Emperor Wu will never leave the Tomb of Heaven. Squeak! Wind-tailed Fox reached out its small claws and gently touched Kang Yong'a's cheek and comforted her with its eyes full of worry. Xiaofeng, I'm fine. Kang Yong'a stretched out her fingers and touched Wind-tailed Fox's head and said with a forced smile. After turning and leaving Kang Yong'a, Yu Haoran cupped his hands and asked Yuan Sangxiong, who was at the top of the stands, Master Yuan, I wonder if the medicinal materials for refining the Demon Soul Attraction pill have been prepared? During the competition, he had already fulfilled his promise to Wen Yufei, so there was no need to exchange for the materials for refining the Fighting Star stepping formation flag through alchemy. At the same time, he also needed to follow Thaling to the valley between the eastern region and the central region as soon as possible to find the space crystal. Chapter 1546. In the stands of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. I've been ready for a long time. Even though Yu Haoran had gone through endless thunder tribulations and possessed strength that was not inferior to his, he still intended to fulfill his promise with him immediately. This made Yuan Sangxiong more convinced of his character, and he immediately got up and responded with a smile. "Since everything is ready, I'll open the furnace and refine the pill for you now." Nodding to indicate that he would fulfill his promise immediately, Yu Haoran directly flew to the arena in the square. "Elixir Emperor Yu, please wait a moment." Yu Haoran suddenly agreed to her relationship with Wu Xingjun and even promised that he would come and propose marriage a year later. This made Zhong Li Shui Qin feel incomparably excited and pleasantly surprised. At the same time, she also forgot the important thing she wanted to tell the other party. It was not until Yu Haoran rose into the air and flew to the arena in the square to refine the heavenly demon soul-attracting pill for Yuan Sangxiong that she suddenly recovered and hurriedly urged him to stay. "Miss Shuiqin, what's the matter?" Yu Haoran did not return to the stands, but turned to look at Zhongli Shuiqin and asked. The two clan leaders of the Shang clan and the Zhou clan, as well as the 5 supreme elders of the Third Tribulation Emperor Wu realm, will arrive in about 5 minutes at most. You must leave the hidden dragon fortress in the central region immediately. Zhongli Shuiqin reminded him with a solemn expression. Zhongli Shuiqin's reminder made Yuan Sangxiong, who was also flying to the arena in the square, change his expression, and a trace of hesitation appeared in his eyes. "Let them come then." After hearing Zhongli Shuiqin's reminder, Yu Haoran replied calmly and flew to the arena in the square. Then he looked at Yuan Sangxiong, who was floating in the stands. Without any fortuitous encounters, he would be able to smoothly advance to the martial emperor realm in 7 or 8 months at most. Therefore, his need for the heavenly demon's remnant thought that was guided and refined by Thaling was not so strong. If Yuan Sangxiong did not want to continue refining the stage 2 grade 1 heavenly demon soul attraction pill, he would not have any objections. "Alchemy Emperor Yu, don't worry about refining the heavenly demon soul attraction pill. No matter what trouble you encounter, I, Yuan Sangxiong, will bear it." After seeing Yu Haoran's calm gaze, Yuan Sangxiong suddenly felt ashamed. As the sect master of the heavenly demonic sect and one of the top experts in the profound sky continent, why was it that when he heard that there were a few opponents who were at the level of Third Calamity Quasi-Emperor Wu, his heart was filled with fear and thoughts of retreating? How could he still have the confidence to compete in the Battle of Mount Tai 3 years later? Yuan Sangxiong, who had regained his confidence, instantly appeared in the arena. He took out the pre-agreed reward and the 2 sets of medicinal herbs needed to refine the heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir. He patted his chest and promised. After receiving the reward and medicinal herbs from Yuan Sangxiong, Yu Haoran replied indifferently, "The experts from the Shang clan and the Zhou clan are here to cause trouble for me, Yu Haoran. I don't need sect master Yuan's help." Then he sat cross-legged on the arena and closed his eyes to carefully recall the formula and refining process of the stage 2 grade 1 heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir. His 10 fingers quickly performed the pill condensation technique to condense the independent space of the elixir fire. Perhaps it was because of the transformation of his cultivation base and strength that the pill condensation technique had improved. At this moment, the independent space of the elixir fire could no longer be seen. It was like a Danteon fire floating independently in the air. After the independent space of the elixir fire was completely condensed, Yu Haoran began to throw medicinal herbs into the elixir fire according to the pill formula of the heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir. The refining process of the stage 2 grade 1 heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir was simple and time-saving. The only troublesome thing was that many alchemists at the peak of the alchemy grandmaster realm were unable to refine it, mainly because of how to refine the clear reincarnation fruit as the main ingredient. For Yu Haoran, who comprehended the law of life and death, refining the clear reincarnation fruit was no different from refining ordinary medicinal herbs. It only took him 2 minutes and 43 seconds to refine the 9 medicinal herbs needed to refine the stage 2 grade 1 heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir. Without the slightest delay, his 10 fingers formed the pill condensing technique of the nihility pill condensing technique. After using the law of life and death to envelop the samsara force in the samsara clear fruit liquid, it took less than 3 minutes to successfully complete the process of condensing the pill. Since the elixir refined and condensed by the pill condensation technique did not need to go through the process of nourishing, Yuharan only paused for a second before he continued to perform the method of dividing the elixir. Within 20 seconds, he successfully divided 9 elixirs. Watching Yuharan refine the elixir as smoothly as moving clouds and flowing water, the countless powerhouses present who were witnessing his refining process for the first time were dumbfounded. As powerhouses of inherited families and top sects, the forces behind each person would deliberately nurture some alchemists. Almost every force had alchemists at the peak of the alchemy grandmaster realm. Alchemists at the peak of the alchemy grandmaster realm, even if they were refining the lowest level 10th grade pills, not only would they not be able to do it as casually as Yuharan, but they would also take more than a few minutes to refine the pills. Moreover, he was refining the stage 2 grade, 1 heavenly demon soul-attracting elixir. Gap. This is the gap in alchemy talent and comprehension. Sun Hongji, the great elder of the Sun clan of the eastern region, whose alchemy cultivation was infinitely close to the alchemy emperor realm, sighed with a complicated expression. Hearing Sun Hongji sigh and looking at Yuharan in the arena, Bailey Pingsuan's eyes revealed a trace of hesitation. Although he had never really come into contact with Yuharan, the Bailey clan had always maintained a relatively friendly relationship with him because of the suppression of Shin Hokong. When he heard Zhongli Shuiqi mention that the clan leaders and great elders of the Shang and Zhou clans had joined forces to rush over, Bailey Pingsuan's first reaction was to stand by and watch. However, when he saw Yuharan's alchemy ability at this moment and thought of the Bailey clan's war god who was seriously injured and in a deep slumber, Bailey Pingsuan changed his mind. This was because if the war god of the Bailey clan wanted to wake up from his deep slumber and regain the strength to contend for hegemony in the world, he would need 2 very special top-notch elixirs. As for these 2 special pills, ordinary alchemy emperors were unable to refine them at all. Only alchemy geniuses like Yuharan, who were rarely seen in tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years, could refine them. If he wanted Yuharan to refine these 2 special elixirs, it was definitely not enough to tempt him with benefits. He was afraid that he would need to show the Bailey clan sincerity. Thinking of this, Bailey Pingsuan's expression instantly became firm. He flew to the side of the arena and cupped his hands to Yuan Sangqiong to explain his intention. Chapter 1547. In the arena of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region. Elder Pingsuan, thank you. Yuan Sangqiong did not take the initiative to stand up at the beginning. He only appeared after Yuharan showed his alchemy skills that even shocked himself. How could Yuan Sangqiong not guess his thoughts? Likewise, although Bailey Pingsuan's cultivation was only at the second tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu realm, he had the bloodline of Bailey's ancestor, the god of war bloodline. He could temporarily possess the strength of a third tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu through the means of transforming into a god of war. Therefore, in the face of Yuan Sangqiong's slight mockery, he was not afraid at all. Having one more helper to deal with the Shang clan and Zhou clan experts could reduce some of the pressure on him. Yuan Sangqiong did not care about Bailey Pingsuan's tough counterattack and smiled. As the elixir in the independent space in the Dantian was successfully divided into 9 elixirs, the 9 elixirs began to gather and devour the scattered demonic energy through the power of attraction. The temperature in the entire Hidden Dragon Fortress suddenly dropped a lot. At the same time, a trace of tempting and disturbing power began to affect countless experts in the surrounding stands. Calm your chi and concentrate your mind. Use your Yuanli to block the invasion of the demonic energy, and your mind will not be disturbed. Sun Hongji, who was at the peak of alchemy grandmaster realm, carefully understood the function of the demonic energy and reminded everyone in the surrounding stands loudly. Fortunately, the martial artists with the lowest cultivation present were all experts in the martial sage realm. Therefore, after hearing Sun Hongji's reminder, they immediately used their powerful strength to block the demonic energy, and no one lost their composure or embarrassed themselves. You, Howren, how dare you kill my Shan clan clansmen? You'll pay with your life. Just as everyone was paying attention to the 9 demonic soul-attracting elixirs in the independent space and the alchemy fire in the air, a deafening roar suddenly sounded. Accompanied by the deafening roar, a figure approached from afar and appeared above the central square of the hidden dragon fortress as fast as lightning. Back off! Yuan Sangxiong, who immediately rose into the air, reprimanded with a fierce look. Brother Sangxiong, this is still a personal grudge between my Shan clan and you, Howren. I hope that you can give me some face and not interfere in this matter. Just as Yuan Sangxiong's voice fell, several figures also appeared above the square at lightning speed. Subsequently, a middle-aged man who was about 40 years old and wore a 9-clawed purple gold dragon robe with an extraordinary aura asked in a relatively polite tone. No. In the face of the middle-aged man's request, Yuan Sangxiong flatly refused without even considering it. Brother Sangxiong, could it be that your heavenly demon sect really wants to declare war on our Shan clan? Yuan Sangxiong's firm rejection caused the middle-aged man in the purple gold dragon robe to threaten him with a gloomy expression. And our Zhou clan. Just as the middle-aged man in the purple gold dragon robe threatened, Zhou Yus also appeared above the square with 2 supreme elders of the Zhou clan's third tribulation, Quasi-Emperor Wu. They also cooperated with the middle-aged man in the purple gold dragon robe to threaten Yuan Sangxiong. Brother Haoyang, Brother Yuz, it's not that I don't want to give face to your Shan clan and Zhou clan. It's just that Elixir Emperor Yu is refining a very important elixir for me at this moment and cannot be disturbed. If it was just facing the Shan clan or Zhou clan alone, Yuan Sangxiong was not afraid of their threats of declaring war through their clans and sections. However, in the face of the alliance of the 2 clans, Yuan Sangxiong did not dare to ignore the other party's threat given the current situation of the heavenly demon sect being attacked from both sides. In desperation, he could only temporarily put away his arrogant attitude and explain in a polite tone. Of course, if Shang Haoyang and Zhou Yus dare to destroy the heavenly demon soul attraction elixir that Yu Haoren was refining, Yuan Sangxiong would not hesitate to declare war on the 2 clans at the same time. The demonic energy gathered and attracted by the 9 elixirs in the independent space of the elixir fire is about to end. At most, it will take 2 to 3 minutes for the elixir to be refined successfully. After hearing Yuan Sangxiong's explanation, Zhou Yus, who is slightly proficient in elixir Dao, carefully observed the 9 elixirs in the independent space of the elixir fire, then explained and suggested to Shang Haoyang. Brother Haoyang, why don't we give face to Brother Sangxiong and give Yu Haoren another 2 to 3 minutes to live? All right. Yuan Sangxiong was not only the sect master of the Heavenly Demon sect, but also one of the top experts in the Tianxian continent. If they wanted to deal with him, they would need at least 3 to 4 supreme elders who were at the level of third calamity, Quasi-Emperor Wu. Moreover, they might not be able to completely trap him. Therefore, after some consideration, Shang Haoyang nodded in agreement. We'll do as Brother Yu says. Thank you. Seeing that Shang Haoyang and Shang Yus were willing to give him face and agree to wait for Yu Haoren to finish refining the elixir before taking action, Yuan Sangxiong secretly heaved a sigh of relief and thanked them with cupped fists. Sister Sui Jin, not only are you powerful, but the family behind you is even more mysterious and powerful. Ling Fei begs you to help the prince consort now, will you? Seeing that Yuan Sangxiong, who had made a solemn vow before refining the elixir, had betrayed Yu Haoren in the blink of an eye, Qin Lingfei hated him to the core and had no choice but to look at Zhongli Shuiqin for help. Ling Fei, it's not that I don't want to help, but before Elixir Emperor Yu refined the elixir, he used his divine thought to warn me not to interfere in his feud with the Shang clan. He also ordered me not to leave your side. Otherwise, he wouldn't care about me and Xiaojun anymore. Zhongli Shuiqin explained with a bitter smile in response to Qin Lingfei's request. What does the prince consort want to do? To prevent the powerful and mysterious Zhongli Shuiqin from helping, Yu Haoran's arrangement completely confused Qin Lingfei. He didn't allow Zhongli Shuiqin to interfere because those 7 fellows are no match for Xiaoran. Perhaps it was because Taishang Wangqing was about to advance to a new realm that Yusiki was barely affected by kinship, so she couldn't help but explain to Qin Lingfei, who was at a loss. He didn't allow Zhongli Shuiqin to leave the stands because Xiaoran is worried that someone with bad intentions would try to threaten him by capturing you. The prince consort is already so powerful. After hearing Yusiki's explanation, Qin Lingfei asked in disbelief. Today's Qin Lingfei was no longer the little girl who had never left Xianyang City and was only a beginner martial saint. After the second hidden dragon ranking battle, the few trials in the secret realms, and the period of seclusion after the hidden dragon ranking battle in the southern region, Emperor Qin had completely opened the sutra depository to her, allowing her to truly understand the situation of the entire Tianxian continent and the power and terror of the inherited families. Chapter 1548. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Grandstand. After hearing Yusiki explain why Yu Haoran did not allow her to leave the stands, Zhongli Shuiqin's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. When she saw the cold and heartless aura exuding from Yusiki's body, her surprise was instantly replaced by doubt. Firstly, as a top powerhouse who was about to reach the level of Emperor Wu, she couldn't accurately sense Yu Haoran's true strength. Then, how did Yusiki, who had just advanced to the early stage of a 9th grade martial venerable, know that Yu Haoran had the strength to deal with 7 top powerhouses? Secondly, the cold and heartless aura that Yusiki exuded was a unique aura that she had never seen or understood before. Since the Eternal Green Supreme Ancestor had the habit of collecting all kinds of secrets of the continent, the Zhongli clan had kept this habit until now. Therefore, the clan's hidden scriptures pavilion recorded all the secrets of the continent from the Middle Ages, recent ages, and the present. Zhongli Shuiqin, who had read the records of the hidden scriptures pavilion, didn't know the specific origin of Yusiki's cold and heartless aura. How could she not be confused? Yu Haoran ignored the arrival of the 7 powerhouses from the Shang clan and Zhou clan above the square, nor was he angry because of Yuan Sanqiang's betrayal. He observed the 9 elixirs in the independent space of the elixir fire and considered whether he should use the palm technique or the fist technique to fight the enemy. As the traction force formed by the 9 elixirs gradually weakened, the demonic energy gathered in the independent space of the elixir fire became less and less. Yu Haoran stopped and stood up directly. He rubbed his index and middle fingers together. Pah! With a loud and clear snap, the independent space of the elixir fire was instantly withdrawn, and the Dantian fire quickly returned to the Dantian. The rank 2 first grade Heavenly Demon Soul Attraction Elixir was only used to summon the remnant soul of the dead Heavenly Demon. It was neither a forbidden elixir nor had any special heaven-defying effect, so it didn't need to go through the baptism of lightning. He waved his hand at the 9 milky white pills in the air, and the 9 pills obediently fell into the pill bottle that he had prepared beforehand. Yu Haoran took out a pill from the pill bottle and gave it a quick check. He nodded with satisfaction. He reminded Yuan Sanqiang with an indifferent expression after he put the elixir back into the elixir bottle. He wrapped the elixir bottle with his primary energy and brought it to Yuan Sanqiang. Sec Master Yuan, check it again. Yuan Sanqiang didn't feel the slightest bit embarrassed because he had just turned hostile. He reached out and took the pill bottle. He poured out the 9 pills in the pill bottle and carefully inspected them. Finally, he nodded with satisfaction and thanked him. Pill Emperor Yu, the quality of the 9 demonic soul attraction pills is not bad. Many thanks. Everyone has their own needs. Yu Haoran shook his head and replied casually. Then, he turned around and instructed Bailey Pingtsuan, who had a nervous expression on his face. Elder Bailey, you can go back now. Bailey misunderstood that Yu Haoran thought that his cultivation was too low, so he quickly explained, Pill Emperor Yu, don't think that my cultivation is only at the level of a second tribulation quasi-emperor Emperor Wu. I can help you stall 2 opponents at the level of a third tribulation quasi-emperor Emperor Wu. Senior Bailey, 3 months later, I will be cultivating in the prince's mansion for a period of time. If the Bailey clan needs to refine some elixirs, you can come to me directly with the herbs needed for refining the elixirs. Bailey Pingsuan risked his life to help him fend off the experts from the Shang clan and Zhou clan in hopes of gaining his gratitude and refining some precious elixirs for them. Therefore, after Yu Haoran promised to refine the elixirs, he continued to ask Bailey Pingsuan to return to the stone chair in the stands. All right. Seeing how resolute Yu Haoran was in rejecting his help and had even promised to refine the elixirs, Bailey Pingsuan didn't continue to insist and nodded. Then he flew back to the front of the stone chair in the stands. However, he didn't immediately return to the stone chair. Instead, he activated the Bailey clan's war god bloodline and prepared to help at any time. With a wave of his sleeve, Yu Haoran directly flew into the air. His gaze swept across the 7 experts from the Shang clan and Zhou clan. His gaze finally stopped on Zhou Yu's as he spoke with a complicated expression. Clan leader Zhou, seeing that you once personally attended the wedding of Princess Ling, Fei and I, Haoran will give you a piece of advice. Oh, I wonder what kind of advice the great Pill Emperor Yu, Formation Emperor Yu, and Guanjuan you would like to give his clan leader? Zhou Yu's asked mockingly, ignoring Yu Haoran's goodwill. Cut off all unrealistic conspiracies and tricks, then seal the clan for 100 years. Yu Haoran wasn't angry at all because of Zhou Yu's mockery. He still gave his own advice with a complicated expression, or rather, a kind advice that could protect the bloodline of the Zhou clan. Seal the clan for 100 years. After hearing Yu Haoran's advice, Zhou Yu's couldn't help but laugh out loud. Huh. After laughing for nearly 30 seconds, Zhou Yu suddenly stopped laughing. His eyes were filled with hatred as he roared. You stole my Zhou clan's treasure, the celestial slashing sword, destroyed my daughter's divine body, killed my Zhou clan supreme elder, and now you want to seal the clan for 100 years. Do you really think that my Zhou clan is a pushover that you can pinch and step on as you like? This advice is only for the sake of our past relationship. As for whether you listen to it or not, it's up to you. Zhou Yu's. After continuing to ignore Zhou Yu's roaring and questioning, Yu Haoran simply expressed his attitude and looked at Yuan Sangqiong, who was standing next to Shang Haoyang, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. Master Yuan, do you want to join forces with the Shang clan and the Zhou clan to deal with me? Don't misunderstand, Pill Emperor Yu. There's no enmity between us. Why would I join forces with others to deal with you? Yuan Sangqiong waved his hand to show that he had no ill intentions and immediately returned to the stone chair in the stands. However, he could also feel the strong disdain, mockery, and fear in the eyes of the crowd. He didn't care at all and directly sat back on the stone chair, not regretting what he had done. Do it. After Yuan Sangqiong left, Yu Haoran withdrew his hands behind his back and ordered the 7 people in front of him indifferently. Yu Haoran, if you are willing to become a servant of my Shang clan for 100 years, this clan head might consider sparing your little life and allow you to continue living while at death's door. Shang Haoyang raised his hand to signal the supreme elder behind him to stop and said in a condescending tone, Shang Jia, who has no sense of propriety, justice, integrity, and honor. Shang Baijian, who is good at adding insult to injury. Shang Jinlin, who is shameless. And you, Shang Haoyang, who is a dog. The indifference in Yu Haoran's eyes was gradually replaced by disdain as he mocked sharply. Chapter 1549. Above the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Yu Haoran, you deserve to die. The world's most venomous words were used to describe the Shang clan, and this sort of humiliation caused Shang Haoyang to be instantly enraged, and at the same time, completely extinguished any thoughts of making Yu Haoran work for the Shang clan. Do it! Inescapable net. Just as Shang Haoyang's order fell, the Shang clan Great Elder, who was the first to arrive at the square, immediately mobilized the power of law he controlled and integrated it into the lower Emperor Realm net-shaped celestial device. Then, he performed a killing technique. Looking at the net-shaped celestial device that was quickly enveloping him, Yuhaoran calmly stretched out his hands and quickly grabbed the two weak points of the net-shaped celestial device. Then, he used the physical strength of the Emperor Wu realm and tore it with force. Whoosh! With a harsh tearing sound, a hole was directly torn in the net-shaped celestial device. Yuhaoran stepped through the torn hole and then appeared in front of the Shang clan Great Elder in a flash. Arrogant Dragon's Remorse. With the dragon subduing palm skill inherited from the witch ancestor and the physical strength of the Emperor Wu realm, he directly smashed the three tribulation quasi, Emperor Wu realm expert into a bloody mist. Whoosh! The Great Elder of the Shang clan in the Middle Ages, a three tribulation quasi, Emperor Wu realm expert, was directly smashed into a bloody mist by Yuhaoran palm skill. Such a strong contrast made everyone present gasp involuntarily. Yuan Sanqiong's expression changed slightly, and a trace of fear and regret appeared in his eyes. Without using the power of law of life and death, and without a trace of primordial energy and soul power aura fluctuation, he can easily kill a three tribulation quasi, Emperor Wu realm expert with just one palm skill. I'm afraid there's only one possibility. Looking at the blood mist that slowly drifted down, and looking at Yuhaoran who appeared before the other Grand Elder of the Shang clan with an indifferent expression, Zhongli Shuiqin's heart instantly surged like a tempestuous storm as she involuntarily speculated. Elixir Emperor Yu's physical strength has probably successfully reached the Emperor Wu realm. As if to further confirm Zhongli Shuiqin's speculation, Yuhaoran instantly appeared in front of the other Shang clan Great Elder. He completely ignored the other Shang clan Great Elder's heaven-class sword skill and used a simple palm skill inherited from the witch ancestor. Brother Haoyang used the clan Great Elder. At the same time, Zhou and Sanxio Yu Haoyang conjured him, his strong mental state cultivation, and rich battle sense of battle. Calm Haoyang, Sinuo Haoyang quickly, and immediately thought. His heaven's great sword skill used heaven's primordial sword realm, primordial sword heaven's realm, expert realm. Primordial energy, great primordial heavens, Scarlet Crow illuminates the world. Then, he directly threw the feather into the air and roared. Following Shang Haoyang's roar, the feather that was thrown into the air instantly turned into a three-legged crow that emitted scorching flames. The three-legged scarlet crow that can transform into the sun in ancient times. Thaling, who had barely calmed his shock, unexpectedly felt a familiar scorching aura when he used the Buddha Saraira to recover the origin energy that Victor had consumed. He immediately looked through the space between Victor and the sea of consciousness. After seeing the three-legged crow in the air, his expression suddenly changed, and he appeared in the sea of consciousness and warned with a serious expression. After easily killing the third Grand Elder of the Shang clan, Yuhaoran turned his head to look at the three-legged crow that was flapping its enormous wings in the air and glaring at him with a ferocious gaze. Yuhaoran, the three-legged crow, was an existence that was second only to the 9 great divine beast kings in ancient times. Not only did its strength reach the peak of the 9th level of the divine realm, its 3 legs were comparable to top-level divine artifacts and could directly shake the sun, moon, and stars. Its ferocity did not lose out to ancient ferocious beasts like the Swanee. Seeing that Yuhaoran had already noticed the three-legged crow in the air, Thaling hurriedly explained in detail. As for the three-legged crow in front of you, although it was transformed from a feather of a descendant, it possessed a terrifying strength that did not lose out to yours. The three-legged crow is also known as the three-legged crow. It absorbed the essence of the sun and stars and was nurtured by the heavens and earth for millions of years. Being able to hear the importance that Thowling attached to the three-legged crow, Yu Howren took a step forward and walked in the air as he chuckled and introduced more detailed information about the three-legged crow. Since it was a natural life form that was nurtured by the heavens and earth, then it should follow the orders of the heavenly Tao. However, the ferocious three-legged crow, under the instigation of some conspirators, had once committed a monstrous sin that brought chaos to the ancient continent. Yu Howren stopped when he was less than 30 meters away from the three-legged scarlet crow. Feeling the scorching aura contained in the flames emitted by the three-legged scarlet crow, Yu Howren withdrew his smile and asked with an indifferent expression, "Thowling, do you know how many three-legged crow were nurtured in the ancient continent?" 10. As a powerful being that had existed since the beginning of the world, Thowling had not only witnessed the birth of the three-legged crow with his own eyes, but had also used their feathers, which contained pure fire power, to make top-grade divine weapons. Of course, he knew the exact number of three-legged crow. Then, do you know how the heavenly Tao punished them when they committed monstrous sins? Yu Howren continued to ask as he activated the yin-yang fire in his dantian with his mind. I think it was 1 out of 10. When the three-legged crow had committed monstrous sins, the previous Thowling seemed to have left the ancient continent with his original body and went to the starry sky in search of a precious crafting material. However, after that, Thowling only heard a few words about it. Therefore, Thowling's answer was not so certain. Thowling, then do you know who carried out the punishment and killed the 9 most powerful three-legged crow? Activating the body of the ancestor Magus, which was nearly 3,000 meters tall, and activating the power of the yin-yang fire, Yu Howren asked with a trace of excitement. I don't know. The previous Thowling rarely got involved in the disputes of the ancient continent, and would not deliberately pay attention to the three-legged crow, which had nothing to do with him and had a ferocious temperament. That was Zhu Rong, one of the 12 most powerful ancestors of Magus in ancient times, who was born to be good at controlling fire. Along with Yu Howren's excited answer, a flame that was no less scorching than the three-legged crow suddenly rose from the body of the ancestor Magus, who had transformed to nearly 3,000 meters tall. Chapter 1550. In the central region, above the hidden dragon fortress, three-legged scarlet crow, come back and kill the enemy immediately. Although the three-legged scarlet crow was formed from the feathers of a descendant of his bloodline, it was Shang Haoyang who provided the energy for the transformation. Therefore, when he saw the three-legged scarlet crow trying to escape in panic, Shang Haoyang shouted angrily as he used his mind to control the energy in the crow's body. Facing the nemesis that had once executed heaven's punishment and killed its ancestor, the three-legged scarlet crow instinctively wanted to escape. However, Shang Haoyang controlled the energy in its body with his mind, causing it to be unable to escape. This caused the three-legged scarlet crow to flap its wings with all its might, but it could not even move a meter away. As an existence whose temperament was comparable to that of a ferocious beast in ancient times, the three-legged scarlet crow had a kind of indifference to all living things in its bones. Therefore, when faced with a critical moment of life and death, it finally made the decision to devour its master and escape. It only destroyed half of its feathers in exchange for a body that could temporarily break free from the mind's control. The three-legged scarlet crow flapped its wings and charged towards Shang Haoyang. Animal, I am your master. You can only manifest because of the origin force, soul force, and power of law that I, Shang Haoyang, provided. Now, you dare to devour your master? Shang Haoyang shouted angrily as he watched the three-legged scarlet crow flapping its wings and charging towards him with a fierce gaze in its eyes. The more ferocious a living thing is, the more instinctive fear it will have. This Shang fellow has really shot himself in the foot. Thowling could not help but say proudly as he watched the three-legged scarlet crow fighting with Shang Haoyang. Yu Howren did not give any response to this. After quickly dispersing the transformation of the ancestral shaman, he used the law of speed and the law of flash to instantly appear in front of a great elder of the Zhou clan. Taking advantage of the great elder's panic, he took his life with a palm strike. Yu Haoran, don't be so arrogant. Although Yu Haoran's strength was unexpected, the cautious Zhou Yu's was not unprepared. Therefore, when he saw Yu Haoran start to kill the great elder of the Zhou clan, Zhou Yu's roared and 3 black pearls immediately floated above his head. See Suppressing Pearl. Originally, Yu Haoran had wanted to use the laws of flash to kill the other great elder of the Zhou clan. But when he saw the 3 black pearls above Zhou Yu's head, he could not help but immediately change his target. The innate cardinal treasure Ocean Suppressing Pearl that disappeared when the primordial age was destroyed. Zhongli Shuiqin, who also believed in the origin of the sea-suppressing pearl, shouted in excitement. She was so excited that she almost rushed to the top of the hidden dragon fortress to compete for the sea-suppressing pearl. After all, the Zhongli clan had the complete inheritance of the eternal green sovereign. Not only did they have the unique refining method to refine the sea-suppressing pearl, but they also had a sea-suppressing pearl in their collection. If they could obtain the 3 sea-suppressing pearls above Zhou Haiyou's head and then refine them using the unique refining method, then the combined 4 sea-suppressing pearls would have the power of a god-high-grade magic weapon. Fortunately, she, who cared more about her relationship with Wu Jingjun, did not forget Yu Haoran's advice before refining the elixir. She forcibly suppressed the desire to compete in her heart, and then began to silently hope that Yu Haoran could successfully kill Zhou Yu's and obtain the 3 sea-suppressing pearls so that she could use some precious treasures to exchange with him. Zhongli Shuiqin cared about her relationship with Wu Jingjun and did not want to anger Yu Haoran, so she gave up the fight. However, Huashan Yu, Yuan Sangxiong, and the great elder of the Yushu Temple, who also knew the origin of the sea-suppressing pearl, were not so afraid. They quickly rose into the air and went straight to Zhou Yu's, who was activating the power of the sea-suppressing pearl. What do you want to do? As a primordial treasure that had existed since the beginning of the world, the sea-suppressing pearl's grade had already reached the peak of the Emperor realm, and the 3 refined sea-suppressing pearls had reached the lower grade of the God realm. With Zhou Yu's strength at the peak of the 9th grade Martial Venerable, even if he overdrew all his strength, not only could he at most exert 70% of the power of the 3 sea-suppressing pearls, but he also only had 1 chance to use them. Therefore, seeing Yuan Sangxiong and the other 2 rushing over, Zhou Yu's could not help but ask with a sudden change of expression. At the same time, another great elder of the Zhou clan flashed in front of the great elder of the Yushu Temple. There was no need to think too much. Yu Haoran also knew why Yuan Sangxiong and the other 2 were attacking. Although the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls were treasures that he had to obtain, he was happy to watch a group of selfish fellows kill each other and wait for a while. Brother Yuz, the 3 black pearls above your head seem to be a treasure that our heavenly devil sect lost some time ago, so I want to check it myself. Yuan Sangxiong said seriously in the face of Zhou Yu's question. Yuan Sangxiong's shameless claim that the sea-suppressing pearl was a treasure of the heavenly devil sect made Zhou Yu so angry that he almost vomited blood. He did not know how to refute his shamelessness, so he could only look at Huashan Yu angrily. The 5 elements counteract and promote each other. The sea-suppressing pearl can help me reach the Emperor Wu realm in the shortest time possible. Although Huashan Yu was not as shameless as Yuan Sangxiong, her desire for the sea-suppressing pearl made Zhou Yuling's heart sink. Then, he looked at the great elder of the Yushu Temple, who was blocked by his subordinates. The tribulation of heaven and earth is about to begin. Both I and the Yushu Temple need to use the sea-suppressing pearl to protect ourselves and resist the enemy. The great elder of the Yushu Temple did not hide his thoughts. Zhou Yu knew that he had underestimated the temptation of a primordial treasure to some top experts. He could not help regretting that he had exposed the existence of the sea-suppressing pearl. However, as an ambitious person who dared to ally with the ancient divine clan, Zhou Yu was not a timid person. After quickly adjusting his regretful mood, he reminded them with a smile. Since the three of you can't give up the sea-suppressing pearl, who do you think I should give it to? Hearing Zhou Yu's blatant provocation, Yuan Sangxiong and the great elder of the Yushu temple, who did not trust others easily, immediately became vigilant and took defensive positions. One pearl. Ignoring Zhou Yu's provocation and ignoring Yuan Sangxiong and the great elder of the Yushu temple, Hua Shanyu stretched out a finger. I only need one sea-suppressing pearl. Hearing Hua Shanyu's request, Yuan Sangxiong and the great elder of the Yushu temple immediately thought of a solution. Then, like Hua Shanyu, they each asked for one pearl. Chapter 1551. Above the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Seeing that Zhou Yu's had not replied for a long time, Yuan Sangxiong, who was a little impatient, could not help but urge and threaten him. Brother Yu's, I'm busy and don't have much time to waste waiting, so you'd better make your stand clear immediately. Hua Shanyu and the highest elder of the Yushu temple took a step forward at the same time, supporting Yuan Sangxiong's threat with practical actions. Waving his hand to signal the people in front of the highest elder of the Yushu temple to get out of the way, Zhou Yu's controlled the three sea-suppressing pearls to fall slowly on his palm, then nodded with a strange smile on his face. I can agree to your request just now and give each of you a sea-suppressing pearl, a primordial cardinal treasure. Before Yuan Sangxiong and the highest elder of the Yushu temple could smile, Zhou Yu suddenly changed his tone and continued. However, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. If you want to get the sea-suppressing pearl, you have to agree to one of my conditions. Pointing at Yu Haoran, who was watching the show, Zhou Yu said with a murderous look, that is, you have to work together to kill him. Hearing Zhou Yu's request, Yuan Sangxiong and the other two could not help but change their expression slightly. They looked at each other and saw the hesitation in each other's eyes. After all, the four powerful experts who had been easily killed by the Three Tribulations Emperor, Wu, had fully proved Yu Haoran's strength. Whether it was Yuan Sangxiong, who thought highly of himself, or Hua Shanyu, who had inherited the secret method, they were not fully confident that they could defeat him. The three sea-suppressing pearls combined can exert nearly 70% of the power of a low-grade, Divine Realm celestial device, which is almost equivalent to the strength of a peak third-grade Emperor Wu. Seeing the hesitation in the eyes of Yuan Sangxiong and the other two, Zhou Yu knew that if he did not add fuel to the fire, it would be impossible for the three of them to make a final decision. Therefore, he reminded them with a sneer, if you don't agree to my request and want to take it by force, then the sea-suppressing pearls that should have been thrown at Yu Haoran may fall on you. Hearing Zhou Yu's warning, Yuan Sangxiong and the other two looked at each other gloomily. Yuan Sangxiong and the highest elder of the Yushu temple showed a trace of determination in their eyes, but Hua Shanyu still looked hesitant and hesitated. I promise you. Ignoring the hesitant Hua Shanyu, Yuan Sangxiong quickly reached a consensus with the supreme elder of Hollow Jade Temple and nodded in agreement. This elder agrees with you. The supreme elder of the Hollow Jade Palace echoed. I give up. After thinking about it again and again, Hua Shanyu decided that it was best not to offend Yu Haoran, who was narrow-minded, before the higher-ups of the family decided whether they would be friends or foes in the future. She wanted to avoid unpredictable troubles in the future. She gave up on joining forces to attack Yu Haoran, and she could not fight against the sea-suppressing pearls that could exert the strength of a peak third-grade Emperor Wu. Hua Shanyu, who chose to give up, returned to the stone chair in the stands. Seeing Hua Shanyu withdraw from the fight for the sea-suppressing pearls in time, Yu Haoran looked at Yuan Sangxiong with a strange light in his eyes, and his tone was full of disgust and ridicule. As the saying goes, wolves travel thousands of miles to eat meat, and dogs travel thousands of miles to eat meat. For some cruel and unscrupulous people, even if you give your heart to them, the end result will be their more shameless revenge. Yuan Sangxiong, I don't know if you are a despicable and unscrupulous person. Elixir Emperor Yu, Forgive me for being stupid, but I really don't know what you were talking about just now. Ever since Yuan Sangxiong showed his talent, in order to obtain a higher status and seize more opportunities to improve his cultivation and strength, some of his actions have been mocked and ridiculed. Not only was his skin thick enough, but his mentality had also adapted to all kinds of sarcasm and ridicule. Therefore, in the face of Yu Haoran's sarcasm, not only did he not show a trace of anger, but he also pretended to be ignorant. I'm convinced. Yuan Sangqiong's shamelessness refreshed Yu Haoran's understanding of human nature. He could not help but give him a thumbs up. Sect Master Yuan, you are thick-skinned and scrupulous and shameless. This junior sincerely admires you. In response, Yuan Sangqiong just snorted coldly, then turned his head and nodded to the highest elder of the Yushu Temple. Then, in a flash, he appeared in front of Yu Haoran. Heavenly Demon Hand. His left hand, which contained enough power to tear the sky apart, bent slightly and directly grabbed Yu Haoran's heart. Palace of Life. At the same time, the highest elder of the Yushu Temple, who had received Yuan Sangqiong's signal, immediately displayed the divine level martial skill, the treasure of the Yushu Temple. The divine level martial skill quickly condensed into a dazzling golden palace, which then smashed viciously toward Yu Haoran like a mountain. Yuan Sangxiong, you just broke in through Emperor Wu's origin force realm, and you're already so arrogant. Looking at the 5 fingers, which were as fast as lightning, Yu Haoran, who had not only activated the defensive power of Emperor Wu's body in advance, but also mobilized the Rui Bell into his body, said with contempt and sarcasm in his eyes. Then he displayed the 18 dragon-subduing palms, which had been passed down from the wizard ancestor with one hand, and the earth-suppressing fist, which had been passed down from the wizard ancestor with the other hand. Yu Haoran's sarcastic remark about his cultivation made Yuan Sangxiong feel a little uneasy, because it meant that his opponent's strength was very likely far beyond his own. But the arrow had been shot, and there was no turning back, so he could only continue to attack and mobilize his remaining origin force to strengthen his defense. Crack! The heavenly demon hand accurately grabbed Yu Haoran's heart, but the expected skin and flesh did not appear. Instead, Yuan Sangqiong's physical defense, which was as tough as iron and a terrifying rebound force, made Yuan Sangqiong's fingers crack. Slap! Yuan Sangxiong endured the sharp pain caused by his broken fingers and wanted to retreat, but a crisp slap immediately made Yuan Sangxiong feel a burning pain on his left cheek. Boom! The slap in the ear during a life-and-death battle could be said to be a naked humiliation. Yuan Sangxiong, who was instantly enraged, was about to use a stronger attack, but a deafening roar came from above his head, forcing him to continue retreating and raise his head to take a look. One was a divine level martial skill that had been carefully displayed, while the other was a hurried inheritance fist. One was a dazzling golden palace, and the other was a thick and solid mountain. The result of the collision was completely out of everyone's expectations. Chapter 1552. Above the hidden dragon fortress in the central region, the highest elder of the Yushu Temple changed his expression when he saw that the divine-level cultivation method he had used with all his strength was so vulnerable in front of the mountain formed by his opponent's fist technique. The highest elder of the Yushu Temple hurriedly reminded Yuan Sangxiong loudly as he continued to use his sword technique to bombard the heavy mountain. Sect Master Yuan, don't just stand there. Hurry up. After hearing the reminder of the highest elder of the Yushu Temple and seeing Yu Haoran's confident smile, Yuan Sangxiong, who wanted to retreat, immediately displayed his shameless character and said with a smile, Elixir Emperor Yu, I've always wanted to know how much your strength has improved after the baptism of endless thunder tribulations. So the palm technique just now was just a test. Oh, so what's the result of your test, Sect Master Yuan? In the face of Yuan Sangxiong's shameless and scoundrel sophistry, Yu Haoran admired how shameless he was and couldn't help but want to know the limit of his shamelessness. Strong, very strong. You're not inferior to me. Yuan Sangqiong's eyes were full of gratification as he praised. EW, Qin Lingfei and Zhongli Shuiqin, who couldn't stand Yuan Sangqiong's shamelessness, made a gesture of vomiting at the same time to express their dissatisfaction. Countless experts on the spectators' stand also showed disdain and disgust on their faces. Is Sect Master Yuan's strength stronger, or is this Pill Emperor's strength stronger? Yu Haoran chuckled as he glanced at the extremely lovable Qin Lingfei. We're neck and neck. Yuan Sangqiong replied without blushing or skipping a beat. No, I can't stand it. I'm really going to vomit. Yuan Sangqiong's shameless reply made Qin Lingfei's face turn a little ugly. Finally, she really vomited. Lingfei, don't tell me you're pregnant. The sword without trace asked in delight when he saw the acid on the ground. As for Yusiki, who was cultivating with her eyes closed, she immediately opened her eyes to observe. Then, she closed her eyes again in disappointment. Traceless, what are you talking about? Being able to possess the crystallization of love had always been her dream. However, the higher one's cultivation was, the harder it was to conceive. This made her realize that this dream might take a very, very long time. Therefore, Qin Lingfei, who knew the real situation, couldn't help but reprimand him in a low voice with a red face. Sect Master Yuan, as the saying goes, there is no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. Yu Haoran's interest in peeking at the thickness of the other party's skin grew stronger and stronger as he continued to challenge the other party's limits. Why don't you and I continue the competition and decide a winner? Elixir Emperor Yu, although I'd like to agree to your request, the reality of the situation forces me to decline. Yuan Sangqiong pointed at the Yushu Temple's great supreme elder, who had already shattered the mountain, and refused in a very helpless tone. Fist shatters the firmament. Seeing that Yuan Sangqiong wanted to use the Yushu Temple's great supreme elder as a shield and refused to continue peeping, Yu Haoran's response was very simple. The more powerful and faster ancestral wizard fist technique instantly blasted the Yushu Temple's great supreme elder's chest. Yuan Sangqiong, you despicable bastard. You'll die a horrible death sooner or later. The Yushu Temple's great supreme elder, who knew that he was going to die, finally targeted Yuan Sangqiong when he saw the power of the fist technique tearing apart his high-grade venerable stage defensive Dharma artifact and crushing his internal organs and meridians. Bastard, how can this sect master be insulted by a useless elder like you? After hearing the Yushu Temple's great supreme elder's hateful curse, Yuan Sangqiong, who was instantly enraged, used the heavenly demon hand martial technique to grab the great supreme elder's spiritual sea and scolded him arrogantly. Elixir Emperor Yu, since you still have a grudge with clan leader Zhou and clan leader Shang, I won't continue to disturb you. After crushing the Yushu Temple's great supreme elder's spiritual sea, Yuan Sangqiong immediately reminded him with a solemn expression. Then, without giving Yu Haoran any chance to refute or persuade him to stay, he flashed back to the stone chair in the stands. However, the few clan elders who were originally sitting next to him immediately got up and left the stone chair with a look of disgust and shame. Yuan Sangqiong did not care about this at all. He closed his eyes and began to adjust the endless anger in his heart. Seeing that Yuan Sangqiong did not give him any chance to continue peeping, Yu Haoran only shook his head in slight disappointment and did not continue to cause trouble for him. This was because when he blocked Yuan Sangqiong's heavenly demon hand and planned to use the powerful strength of Emperor Wu's body to smash his head, the Thaling in his spiritual sea stopped him in time. In the end, the palm technique that was aimed at his head turned into a slap on his ear. As for the reason why the Thaling stopped him, it was because he hoped that when Yuan Sangqiong broke through to Emperor Wu's realm with the help of the heavenly demon soul-luring elixir, he could use a special secret method to seize a large number of heavenly demon remnant souls to assist him in improving his cultivation and healing the injuries of the original victor. He withdrew his gaze from Yuan Sangqiong and looked at Shang Haoyang, whose aura was low, and Zhou Yu's, who had raised the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls again. Brother Haoyang, do you have any backup plans? The strength that Yu Haoran had just displayed was too powerful. Zhou Yu's was a little worried that the power of the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls might not be able to directly injure him. Therefore, when he saw that Shang Haoyang had successfully killed the 3-legged red crow, he immediately asked in anticipation. Looking up at the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls floating above Zhou Yu's head, Shang Haoyang's eyes flashed with a hint of envy before he nodded and replied, "Yes." Then, he took out a chain that was about 2 meters long and exuded a strong dragon's aura from his sleeve. Could this be the dragon snaring lasso that Taoist Yunzhong refined using the dragon tendons of an Emperor Realm giant dragon during the Middle Ages? Zhou Yu could not help but speculate in surprise when he saw the chain that Shang Haoyang took out. That's right. While nodding to confirm Zhou Yu's speculation, Shang Haoyang looked at Yu Haoran with hatred in his eyes and ordered, "Brother Yuz, I'll use the dragon-snaring lasso to bind Yu Haoran directly. Then, use the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls to directly destroy his spirit and body." "No problem." While nodding excitedly in response, Zhou Yuz immediately took out a pill that could increase his strength in a short period of time. With that, he could unleash the power of the ocean-suppressing pearls so that he could succeed in one hit. "Fouling, there's some trouble." Seeing the dragon-snaring lasso that Shang Haoyang took out, Yu Haoran could not help but warn Fouling with a serious expression. Chapter 1553. Above the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Fouling, don't be careless. Perhaps it was his sixth sense that warned him, but Yu Haoran felt that something wasn't quite right. However, he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was wrong, which was why he couldn't help but warn Fouling when he saw how confident he was. "Don't worry, I know." Although he said that he knew, he could tell from how nonchalant Fouling was that he didn't take Yu Haoran's warning to heart at all. Soul Sealing. Shang Haoyang channeled his remaining elemental energy and soul power into the dragon's snaring lasso. As he tossed the lasso into the air, he made a hand seal and roared. Roar! As an extremely pure dragon roar rang out, the dragon snaring lasso that was thrown into the air instantly turned into a slender, beautiful silver-white dragon that was several hundred meters long. As the silver-white dragon swayed its tail and charged toward Yu Haoran, more and more identical silver-white dragons quickly separated from it. By the time the silver-white dragons were around 30 meters away from Yu Haoran, there were 99 of them that had separated from the dragon snaring lasso. The entire sky above the hidden dragon fortress was now completely occupied by the silver-white dragons. Falling Star. At the same time, Zhou Yu immediately activated the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls above his head. Together with the dragon-snaring lasso's powerful encirclement, he launched a fatal attack. Dragon-snaring throat. Fouling smiled faintly when he saw that there were 99 silver-white dragons that had separated from the dragon-snaring lasso. He didn't panic at all as he bent the 5 fingers of his left hand into a claw-like attacking posture. Afterwards, he grabbed at the 99 silver-white dragons in the air through his consciousness. An invisible force directly transcended the barriers of time and space, instantly grabbing the throats of all 99 silver-white dragons. Not only did the dragon-snaring throat technique lock down the strength of the silver-white dragons, but it also sealed the formation within the ritual tool. This caused all the struggling silver-white dragons to gradually calm down. Their bodies also gradually shrank until they turned into dragon-snaring lasso. At the same time, Fouling used his free right hand to mobilize the power of the laws of space within the victor. Afterwards, he set up layer after layer of spatial barriers in front of Yu Haoran to continuously weaken the power of the 3 ocean-suppressing pearls. God damn it! Yu Haoran secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Fouling had not only succeeded in capturing the dragon-snaring lasso, but the spatial barriers he had also continuously weakened the power of the ocean-suppressing orbs. However, at this moment, a sharp dagger suddenly appeared between his brows and his consciousness. He could not help but curse as he used the Rui bell that he had activated beforehand to block the dagger's attack. At the same time, he used the rule of speed and the rule of flash to continuously retreat. However, the sharp dagger was like a venomous snake. No matter how he dodged or retreated, he could not break free from the dagger's lock on his consciousness. Moreover, the dark soul-devouring aura that the sharp dagger gave off was clearly smeared with the ghost soul-devouring poison that could devour souls. You, Howren, don't worry. I'm here to help you. After successfully seizing the dragon-snaring lasso, Thaling was just about to forcefully take the ocean-suppressing orb that had already been weakened by a third when he was suddenly shocked by Yu Howren's cursing and dodging. When he saw the sharp dagger that was constantly chasing after his consciousness, Thaling abandoned the ocean-suppressing orb without any hesitation. Right after that, he immediately used his powerful demigod-level divine telekinesis to lock onto the sharp dagger. While removing Yu Howren's crisis, he also tracked down the person behind the scenes who was controlling the sharp dagger. As if it had sensed the fluctuation of the demigod-level divine telekinesis, the sharp dagger that was initially locked onto Yu Howren's consciousness between his brows suddenly disappeared from where it was as soon as the energy lock on it was removed. Even if Thaling used his divine telekinesis to its limit, he could not successfully track down the exact location where the dagger had disappeared. Thaling, the danger has been removed. Go and fight for the 3 ocean-suppressing orbs immediately. Just as the sharp dagger removed the lock on his consciousness between his brows, the warning from his sixth sense disappeared as well. Yu Howren could not help but secretly heave a sigh of relief. Right after that, he happened to see Zhou Yu's about to retrieve the ocean-suppressing orb that had been weakened by half, so he hurriedly reminded Thaling. Since it's been branded with my Thaling's consciousness, the ocean-suppressing orb already has an owner. It's not something that you can retrieve just because you want to. After hearing Yu Howren's reminder, Thaling immediately reserved half of his divine telekinesis to be alert of the surrounding situation, while the other half continued to mobilize Victor's spatial law energy to set up a spatial barrier around the ocean-suppressing orb. While continuing to weaken the ocean-suppressing orb's power, he also completely sealed off Zhou Yu's hopes of retrieving the ocean-suppressing orb. Finally, with the dual cooperation of Thaling's powerful divine telekinesis and spatial law energy, the 3 ocean-suppressing orbs slowly landed in Yu Howren's palm, temporarily suppressing his joy of obtaining the sea-suppressing orbs. Yu Howren sent the 3 sea-suppressing orbs into the space of the territory tower. He ignored the ugly expressions of Zhou Yu's and Shang Haoyang and turned his murderous gaze to the surrounding spectator stands. Through the observation of the sharp dagger when he was dodging earlier, Yu Howren knew that the culprit who had secretly used his consciousness to control the sharp dagger must be hiding in the spectator stands. If the dagger was controlled too far away, it would be impossible for the culprit to successfully escape under the seal of Thaling's powerful divine telekinesis of a First Tribulation demigod. To be able to break through Thaling's divine telekinesis seal in time meant that the culprit was rather powerful. At the same time, he had only detected the culprit when the culprit actually launched a fatal sneak attack. This meant that the culprit was also an expert who was proficient in concealment techniques. Therefore, Yu Howren's gaze not only swept past the top experts at the top of the spectator stands, but he also did not let go of the ordinary martial saint experts at the bottom of the spectator stands. Unfortunately, without the tracking of the culprit's unique scent, he could only rely on his gaze and divine telekinesis to search. In the end, he found nothing. Thaling, who had used his divine telekinesis to the limit, also did not find any clues left behind by the culprit. Yu Howren, although the dagger artifact broke free from the seal of my divine telekinesis just now, I have clearly remembered the unique aura contained in the dagger artifact. A moment of carelessness had actually caused Yu Howren to almost be seriously injured under the sneak attack of the dagger that was smeared with the ghost soul devourer poison. This made Thaling feel deeply guilty, and his desire to catch the culprit behind this became even stronger. As long as the culprit dares to make a sneak attack, not only will I be able to sense it immediately, but I will also be able to directly determine who the culprit behind this is. Chapter 1554. Above the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Zhou Yu's could not help but shudder when he saw Yu Haoran's murderous gaze. He also knew that his mission today had failed completely. However, he was unwilling to give up just like that. He wanted to use negotiation to recoup his family's losses as much as possible. Therefore, he forcefully suppressed the trace of panic that had emerged in his heart and spoke in a condescending manner. Yu Haoran, as long as you return the 3 pearls, the sea-suppressing divine pearl, and the celestial slashing sword immediately, all the grievances between you and the Zhou family will be written off. Zhou Yu's, Yu Haoran, don't trust any of your promises. You're such a heartless and unscrupulous person who would rather ruin the lifelong happiness of your 2 biological daughters for your own selfish desires. After hearing Zhou Yu's arrogant promise, Yu Haoran walked towards Zhou Yu's and Shang Haoyang while laughing coldly and humiliating him. Moreover, in the face of the sea-suppressing divine pearl and the celestial slashing sword, which is not inferior to the sea-suppressing divine pearl, Yu Haoran, have nothing to fear even if I have to fight to the death with the Zhou family. Yu Haoran, the reason why you're not afraid of the Zhou family's threat now is that you haven't seen the true power of the Zhou family. Facing the approaching Yu Haoran, Zhou Yu quietly took out an escape talisman like Shang Haoyang. After secretly activating the energy of the escape talisman, his expression was still full of arrogance as he threatened Yu Haoran. The moment the 5 regions hidden dragon leaderboard competition ended, the 3 Emperor Wu ancestors of the Zhou family had already awakened. Moreover, as the heavenly Tao rules fall into a deep sleep, the environment of heaven and earth is further recovering. More and more Emperor Wu and demigod ancestors of the Zhou family will awaken. In the future, even the martial god ancestors will descend and be revived. Yu Haoran, I wonder what gives you the confidence to be so arrogant in the face of Emperor Wu, demigod, and martial god deities. It's simple. Yu Haoran, who had sensed the aura of the escape talismans coming from Zhou Yu's and Shang Haoyang, knew that it was too late to stop them from leaving. Moreover, he did not really want to kill the head of the family of inheritances. He stopped in his tracks and retorted arrogantly. Based on my fearless courage, based on my talent in alchemy, based on my cultivation speed that far exceeds that of the top geniuses, based on I've seen countless arrogant and ignorant people. However, I've never seen someone as arrogant and ignorant as you, Yu Haoran, who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Yu Haoran's arrogant and awe-inspiring counterattack caused Zhou Yu's expression to change slightly. At the same time, he could not help but interrupt Yu Haoran's counterattack with contempt and ridicule. Then, sensing the activation of the escape talisman's teleportation power, Zhou Yu's left behind a threat that made Qin Lingfei and the others' expressions change. Yu Haoran, just you wait. When the great ancestor of the Zhou family of Emperor Wu recovers his strength, he will definitely let you know the consequences of offending me. Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran ignored the threat left behind by Zhou Yu before he disappeared and looked at Shang Haoyang, who was deliberately suppressing the teleportation power of the escape talisman. Could it be that clan head Shang also has something to say? Elixir Emperor Yu, take the dragon snaring rope as my sincerity in apologizing to you. Can you let go of the grudge between you and the Shang family? Shang Haoyang, who had a complicated expression in his eyes, did not say anything threatening. Instead, he took the initiative to take a step back. This made everyone present feel very surprised. Clan head Shang, are you sure? Yu Haoran also asked in disbelief. From a number of supreme elders leading the 3 tribulations Emperor Wu, as well as the number of magic treasures left from the ancient and Middle Ages, the Shang family's strength was clearly not inferior to the Zhou family's. If that was the case, then, as the clan head of the Shang family, what reason did Shang Haoyang have to back down? Could it be because he just displayed strength that was not inferior to Emperor Wu's realm? Or was it because he was a dual emperor in alchemy and formation? That's right. Shang Haoyang nodded to confirm. When Yu Haoran asked, he also knew that Shang Haoyang would definitely have doubts in his heart. Therefore, when he released the suppression of the teleportation power of the escape talisman, Shang Haoyang cupped his hands and promised Yu Haoran. Elixir Emperor Yu, seeing is believing. In the future, you will personally see the sincerity of the Shang family's willingness to reconcile. Seeing Shang Haoyang disappear on the spot, Yu Haoran shook his head hard to drive the doubts in his heart out of his mind. Then, in a flash, he appeared in front of the supreme elder of the Zhou family, who was trying to escape. Emperor Wu's physical body grade, coupled with the palm technique passed down by the ancestral shaman, directly smashed the supreme elder into a bloody mist. After easily killing the last supreme elder of the Zhou family, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and calmed the ceaselessly churning qi and blood in his body. Then, his gaze directly turned to the top of the west side of the spectator stand. A handsome middle-aged man with an extraordinary temperament was wearing a fiery phoenix robe. After feeling Yu Haoran's gaze, the middle-aged man with the surname Lung couldn't help but change his expression slightly. At the same time, he quietly took out an escape talisman and raised his head to look back at Yu Haoran's gaze. If I didn't guess wrongly, you should be the clan head of the Lung family from the central region, Senior Cold Cloud Lung, who is known as One Sword Strokes the City. Ignoring the other party's action of quietly taking out an escape talisman, Yu Haoran asked with a rather polite attitude. That's right, I'm Cold Cloud Lung, who is known as One Sword Strokes the City. I'm also the current clan head of the Lung family. Cold Cloud, who stood up, nodded and replied with an indifferent expression. Junior Yu Haoran greets Senior Cold Cloud Lung. After getting Cold Cloud's personal confirmation, Yu Haoran hurriedly cupped his hands and greeted respectfully. In this regard, Cold Cloud only nodded indifferently and didn't give a response of equal status. This made many experts present feel rather dissatisfied. However, Yu Haoran, who didn't care about Cold Cloud's attitude at all, continued to ask with cupped hands. Senior Cold Cloud Lung, I wonder what's your relationship with Junior Lin Mingyao? Lin Mingyao. After a trace of panic flashed in his eyes, Cold Cloud immediately shook his head and denied. I don't know her. The originally respectful expression was immediately replaced by a gloomy one. Yu Haoran asked with a slightly sharp tone, Are you sure? Back when they were encircling and suppressing the 11 quasi-venerable realm exotic beasts in the Hengduan Mountains, Lin Mingyao, who had successfully awakened the Blood Phoenix bloodline inheritance, had far surpassed the Sword Without Trace and Kong Yung-ah in terms of cultivation, strength, talent, and potential. With the bloodline inheritance of the Blood Phoenix and the cultivation of the family behind her, she probably had the strength to make it to the top 10 of the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon ranking competition. However, her absence from the Hidden Dragon ranking competition in the southern region and the 5 regions made him realize that Thaling's speculation back then was probably wrong. Lin Mingyao didn't participate in the central region Hidden Dragon ranking competition because of her birthplace, and it wasn't that she didn't have the strength to make it to the finals of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition. She must have met with an accident. Chapter 1555. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, on the West Stand. After quickly calming down the trace of panic that emerged in his heart, Lung Yun affirmed with a cold expression. Of course, Senior Cold Cloud, Junior and Junior Sister Lin are disciples of the 100 Qi Gate at the same time. We are both top 3 in the semifinals. Our talent, potential, comprehension, and perseverance are the same, so we have a very good relationship. During the time when I was cultivating in the sect, Junior has heard Junior Sister Lin mention her background more than once. Not only do I know that she is a direct descendant of the Lung family, I also know the special relationship between you and her. Seeing that Cold Cloud refused to admit it, Yu Haoran suddenly had a bad feeling. However, he forcefully suppressed the violence that gradually emerged in his heart and tried his best to maintain a gentle tone as he asked. Therefore, Junior hopes that Senior Cold Cloud can think about it carefully. Do you know Lin Mingyao or not? Yu Haoran, are you done yet? Seeing that Yu Haoran kept asking questions, Cold Cloud, who had successfully activated the teleportation power of the escape talisman, immediately shouted impatiently. I have already told you clearly that I do not know who Lin Mingyao is, and I have nothing to do with her. Cold Cloud, I already knew the moment you took out the escape talisman. With my current speed and strength, it would be easy to destroy the escape talisman in your hand. But do you know why I did not make a move? Cold Cloud's sudden irritation made Yu Haoran's bad feeling even more real. However, considering the special relationship between the other party and Lin Mingyao, he continued to forcefully suppress the violent emotions in his heart and threatened with a cold expression. Because you're junior sister Meng Yao's biological father. You are the person she respects the most in her heart. You are also the goal that she has been working hard to catch up to in the sect. Therefore, I don't wish for you to be like Zhou Yu's and do evil deeds that harm your family for your own selfish desires. Otherwise, you and the entire Lung family will have to pay the price in blood. Yu Haoran, who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to threaten this patriarch and the entire Lung clan? After hearing Yu Haoran's murderous threat, Cold Cloud's eyes were filled with contempt as he mocked. When he felt the power of the escape talisman begin to teleport, he sneered and provoked. Yu Haoran, believe it or not, as long as you dare to take half a step into the Lung clan, I, Cold Cloud, will definitely make you die without a burial ground. Seeing Cold Cloud disappear in front of the stone chair, the indifference in Yu Haoran's eyes was gradually replaced by a fierce killing intent. At this moment, not only was he 100% sure that Lin Mingyao was in danger, but it was also very likely that it was fatal. Therefore, he had no choice but to change his plan at the last minute. After obtaining Thaling's approval and support, Yu Haoran returned to the Southern Spectator stand in a flash. He planned to inform Qinling Fei and the rest before immediately heading to the Qinling mountain range, which was about 700,000 miles away from the Hidden Dragon Fortress, to track down Lin Mingyao's whereabouts. However, before he could open his mouth to speak, the list that had disappeared reappeared above the central square. After that, the rainbow dragon head formed by the Hidden Dragon Providence slowly extended from the list. I was born at the beginning of the world and gathered the infinite potential of billions of living beings to grow. After hundreds of millions of years of cultivation, I have now reached the realm of merit. The rainbow dragon head said with a complicated expression as it looked down at the countless experts in the spectator stand with its huge dragon eyes. From today onwards, the 999,999 Hidden Dragon ranking battles will officially end. The Hidden Dragon Fortress of the 5 regions will also disappear from the profound sky continent in 3 days. After hearing the announcement of the Hidden Dragon Providence, countless experts at the scene were stunned. Even Yu Haoran, who knew beforehand that the Hidden Dragon Providence was about to advance, was also shocked. This was because the Hidden Dragon ranking battles were not only the best stage for the peerless and monstrous geniuses of the younger generation to show off their abilities, but also whether they could achieve a rapid transformation in their cultivation and strength and become the top experts of the Tianxin continent. How could the crowd accept that the Hidden Dragon Providence was going to be permanently canceled in such an important competition and such a heaven-defying opportunity? However, the people who really could not accept the cancellation of the Hidden Dragon ranking battles and the withdrawal of the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon Fortress were the 33 venerables from the fortress. Lord Hidden Dragon, please don't. The blue-robed venerable from the central region quickly flew to the rainbow dragon head and knelt in the air, begging with a terrified expression. Lord Hidden Dragon, I, Zheng Bin, have never left the Hidden Dragon Fortress since I joined the Purification Organization 270 years ago and was fortunate enough to become a venerable from the Central Region's Hidden Dragon Fortress. If you cancel the Hidden Dragon ranking battles, what will I do in the future? If you take back the Hidden Dragon Fortress of the Central Region, where will I go? The blue-robed venerable for the Central Region's Hidden Dragon Fortress begged, which was why the other 31 venerables were confused. Therefore, the 31 venerables who knelt side by side behind the blue-robed venerable begged together. Only Peng Yanfei was different. At this moment, not only did he not kneel and beg, but he also excitedly left the Hidden Dragon Fortress and headed straight for the Purification Organization's headquarters. Looking at the excited Peng Yanfei leaving the Hidden Dragon Fortress, the Rainbow Dragon's huge dragon eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. When it saw the 32 venerables kneeling and begging in front of it, the coldness in its eyes was instantly replaced by relief, and its tone was even gentler. If you still want to be loyal and serve my Hidden Dragon Providence, then you can stay in your respective Hidden Dragon fortresses. At that time, not only will I bring you to a paradise, but I will also give you the opportunity to become a deity in the future. Thank you, Lord Hidden Dragon. Thank you, Lord Hidden Dragon. After hearing the Hidden Dragon Providence's reply and promise, the 32 venerables immediately kowtowed in ecstasy and thanked it. After getting up, they respectfully stood behind the list. Seeing the Hidden Dragon Providence looking at him, Yu Haoran nodded to Qin Ling Fei and the others, then flew to the Rainbow Dragon. How much time do you need? Yu Haoran asked with a complicated expression as he looked at the 7-color dragon's eyes, which sometimes flashed with indifference toward all living beings, and sometimes filled with the 7 emotions and 6 desires of humanity. Shaking its head, the Rainbow Dragon indicated that it did not know. After all, as a special existence born from heaven and earth, it had a unique cultivation method that relied on the potential of living beings to grow. There was not an identical precedent for it to refer to, nor was there any information about it left in the world. Chapter 1556. Above the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region. Seeing that the Hidden Dragon Blessing was also unclear about the promotion time, Yu Haoran continued to ask after a look of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Senior, do you need me to do anything? Young man, can you continue to enter the virtual zone now? The 7-color dragon looked straight into Yu Haoran's eyes and asked expectantly. Anytime, anywhere. As long as there were no accidents in the Thaling region, it would not be troublesome to enter the virtual zone. Therefore, Yu Haoran replied truthfully. Young man, since I don't know if the advancement process of my life form is going smoothly, I hope you can enter the virtual zone every 10 years to observe the advancement of my body. After receiving Yu Haoran's affirmative answer, the anticipation in the 7-color dragon's eyes was immediately replaced by surprise, and it pleaded with an even more excited tone. If there are any problems in my advancement process, I hope you can help me if you can. No problem. Yu Haoran did not even consider the Hidden Dragon Blessing's plea and nodded directly in agreement. After all, the care in the Southern region and the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon ranking battle was the key to him being able to overcome the endless thunder tribulation and advancing his physical body to Emperor Wu's level. In his opinion, entering the virtual zone once every 10 years was not a request at all. Thank you. For the first time in its life, the Hidden Dragon Blessing lowered its huge dragon head and thanked a junior whose strength was far inferior to it. Senior, you're too polite. This is what I should do. The godlike Hidden Dragon Blessing was thanking him in such a serious manner. This made Yu Haoran feel extremely flattered, and he quickly waved his hand in acknowledgement. Ignoring Yu Haoran's persuasion, the Hidden Dragon Blessing spat out a jade slip from its huge dragon mouth after thanking him solemnly. The jade slip flew directly to Yu Haoran and explained with a smile. Young man, this jade slip is your reward for taking care of my advancement process in the future. Although Yu Haoran wanted to refuse the reward given by the Hidden Dragon Blessing, he felt that he was spying on the contents of the jade slip. In the end, he reached out and held the jade slip, then checked the contents of the jade slip. After he saw the section of the secret control technique recorded in the jade slip and the target of control, Yu Haoran's heart instantly surged with shock like tempestuous waves. When he looked up and wanted to ask the reason why the Hidden Dragon Blessing did this, he found that the 7-color dragon and the list had already disappeared. Yu Haoran, what is recorded in the jade slip? Yu Haoran's fluctuating emotions made the pagoda's spirit extremely interested in the information recorded in the jade slip. Therefore, after seeing Yu Haoran's consciousness withdraw from the jade slip, he quickly asked, after sending the jade slip directly to Thaling in the sea of consciousness, Yu Haoran flashed back to the south side of the stands. After briefly explaining his next training plan to Qin Ling Fei and Yusiki, he directly rose into the air and left the hidden dragon fortress. Then he went straight to the Lung family in the Qinling Mountains. Deep in the Qinling Mountains, Cold Cloud, who had returned to the Qinling Mountains in advance, did not immediately return to the family. Instead, he took a detour and came to a very hidden cave deep in the mountains. Using the divine thought of a peak 9th grade martial venerable, after making sure that no one was following him, he quietly entered the cave. Then, he used a special jade pendant to open a hidden mechanism in the cave. Through the exquisite mechanism, Ling Yun finally came to a blood pool at the bottom of the mountain that was filled with a strong smell of blood. Looking up at the huge blood phoenix above the blood pool, which had been pierced through 9 vital parts by 3 huge chains, Cold Cloud's eyes were filled with greed and madness. As the saying goes, even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. Feeling Cold Cloud appearing in front of the blood pool, the blood phoenix, whose aura was so weak that it could die at any time, showed a complicated expression of sadness and anger in its blood-red eyes. Its tone was filled with endless sorrow. Cold Cloud, just to get a drop of blood from the blood phoenix's bloodline, you drew out the soul of your own daughter, who has the potential to become a divine phoenix in the future. Now, I even wonder if you're a kind person. What do you know, little girl? Facing the blood phoenix's ridicule, Cold Cloud could not help but sneered and refuted. The blood phoenix is not only the direct descendant of the divine phoenix, but also a mysterious existence after the bloodline has mutated. The blood phoenix not only has the ability to surpass the divine phoenix and become a powerful existence at the peak of the Supreme Master Realm, but also has the potential to break through to the immortal realm. If I can use the blood phoenix's blood and integrate it with my ancestors' bloodline, not only will I have the hope to break through to the Emperor Wu realm in a short time, but also in the next 100 years, I can rely on the body of my ancestors' divine beast to break through to the martial god realm. Hearing Cold Cloud's refutation, the blood phoenix's eyes suddenly showed a trace of expectation and said, Father, if you're willing to let me go, when my cultivation reaches the peak of the 9th grade martial venerable, I can use the huge amount of qi and blood in my body to refine a drop of blood phoenix's blood for you. Refining a drop of pure blood phoenix's blood will make you fall from the peak of the 9th grade martial venerable realm to the early stage of the martial sage realm. You will be willing to pay for it. Hearing the blood phoenix's proposal, Cold Cloud immediately sneered and ridiculed. Lin Mingyao, stop dreaming. I will not let you escape. Cold Cloud's questioning counterattack made the blood phoenix's eyes no. It made Lin Mingyao's eyes show disappointment and sorrow. Looking down at the blood pool filled with her own blood, her eyes were replaced by coldness, and she could not help but remind him with a sneer. Cold Cloud, even if you use the method of extracting the soul and blood, it will take at least 20 years to refine a drop of pure blood phoenix's blood. With your talent and ancestors' bloodline, I am afraid that you will break through to the Emperor Wu realm in 20 years. What's the use of refining the blood phoenix's blood? Lin Mingyao, your reminder is very timely. So, I have to use a special method to speed up the refining of the blood phoenix's blood. Hearing Lin Mingyao's reminder, Cold Cloud praised with a faint smile. Cold Cloud, what do you want to do? The information revealed by Cold Cloud's praise made Lin Mingyao's face change suddenly, and she asked, Since the speed of extracting the soul and blood is too slow, I might as well use the method of burning the divine soul to speed up the process of refining the blood. Cold Cloud slowly rose into the air, although his face was blooming with a happy smile. The cruel means he said made Lin Mingyao feel extremely frightened, and she could not help but struggle. Lin Mingyao, How powerful is the power of the dark iron combined with the level 3-9 soul-softening powder? You have been trapped for more than a year. Don't you know it in your heart? Although Lin Mingyao, who kept struggling, would eventually be unable to escape, her struggling body would affect his secret method of burning the divine soul. Therefore, Cold Cloud stood on the back of the Blood Phoenix. While using his powerful strength to suppress the Blood Phoenix's struggle, he reminded her with a sneer. So, Lin Mingyao, give up the futile struggle and obediently contribute the Blood Phoenix's blood in your body to help your father become an immortal god, and then lead the Lung family to become the master of the Tianxian continent. Chapter 1557. In the Qinling Mountains. Using his terrifying demigod divine sense, Thowling checked the entire Lung family from head to toe 3 times. In the end, not only did he not find Lin Mingyao's whereabouts, but he also did not find Cold Cloud, who had escaped in advance using an escape talisman. Looking at the Lung family's residence in front of him, and then turning his head to look at the depths of the mountains, Yu Haoran stopped Thowling, who was about to use his victor's energy to conduct a 4th round of search. Thowling, maybe Mingyao is not in the Lung family's residence. Yu Haoran's reminder and his action of looking into the depths of the mountains let Thowling immediately know what he was thinking. However, when he had just arrived at the periphery of the Qinling Mountains, he had already used his demigod divine sense to check the depths of the mountains. He knew that the Qinling Mountains were not only very wide, but there were also awakened Emperor-level mutated beasts in the depths of the mountains. If he wanted to use his divine sense to search every corner of the Qinling Mountains, he was afraid that he would be so tired that he would vomit blood. He would not be able to search again in 10 days to half a month. Therefore, when he was about to persuade Yu Haoran to give up on this idea that would waste his soul power and have no effect, Yu Haoran suddenly bent his knees and sat down cross-legged. He took out a few strands of beautiful black hair and asked with a puzzled look in his eyes. Yu Haoran, Fushi's 8 trigrams divination technique is unable to accurately calculate Meng Yao's exact location, right? When leaving the hidden dragon fortress in the central region, Yu Haoran had used Fushi's 8 trigrams divination technique to predict Lin Mingyao's safety and exact location when he was using Aoyin's 8 trigrams divination technique. Although he has figured out that Zhou Mingyao is facing a life-threatening disaster, he can't figure out her exact whereabouts. It's just a feeling. Yu Haoran replied to Thowling's question while his 10 fingers quickly formed the divination technique. Just now, when I noticed the depths of the mountain range, I suddenly had a feeling that Meng Yao might be in the depths of the mountain range. If I follow my inner feelings and use the Fushi 8 trigrams to calculate again, the chances of success will be higher. As the hand seals formed by her fingers fused into her hair, it suddenly burst into flames and shot into the depths of the mountain range as a streak of fiery light. Thowling, I've found Meng Yao's exact location. Yu Haoran reminded Thowling in his sea of consciousness as he quickly got up and chased after the fire. The powerful divine telekinesis of the demigod realm locked onto the fiery light that had rushed into the mountain ahead of time. It was also the first to discover the cave that Lin Mingyao was trapped in. Yu Haoran, not good. That girl Mingyao is about to die. After seeing Lin Mingyao's soul being ignited by the secret technique, Thowling's expression suddenly changed as he reminded Yu Haoran. Without the slightest hesitation, the law of speed that he mastered quickly fused into his body and suddenly increased his speed by more than 10 times, allowing him to finally enter the cave before the fire disappeared. Looking at the empty cave, Yu Haoran couldn't help but frown. When he thought about how Thowling had mentioned that Lin Mingyao was about to die, the violent emotions that surged in his heart made him unable to help but use the sky-shattering fist, a fist technique passed down from the ancestral witch, and directly punched through the entire mountain. After seeing the blood phoenix that was chained up by 3 mysterious dark iron, Yu Haoran's eyes were filled with blood-red anger as he roared. Cold Cloud, you bastard! I'm going to pull out your tendons, peel off your skin, and then expose your soul to the scorching sun for 9 days and 9 nights. Watching the blood in the blood pool gradually condense into a fist-sized drop of essence blood that exuded a strange high-temperature, cold cloud, who was standing on the back of the blood phoenix, showed an excited expression on his face. But at this moment, an earthquake and a familiar aura of the fist technique caused his expression to change, and he cursed in annoyance. Damn it! How did that little bastard Yu Haoran find this place so quickly? No, even Yuan Sangqiong, a giant of the diabolism, is no match for him. I'm no match for his palm and fist. When he heard Yu Haoran's roar from the cave passage that had been punched through, Cold Cloud's eyes flashed with a trace of determination. He immediately activated an escape talisman and directly put away the unrefined essence blood. In the end, before Yu Haoran reached the blood pool, Cold Cloud successfully escaped the scene. Mengyao, ignoring Cold Cloud who had escaped, Yu Haoran looked at the huge blood phoenix that had been pierced through by the mysterious dark iron and felt the little bit of soul power left in his soul. He could no longer control the sadness that emerged in his heart and shouted hoarsely, "Yu Shixiang, is that you?" Lin Mingyao, whose consciousness had been blurred, instinctively asked after hearing the voice that she had been thinking about day and night. At the same time, Faling, who had quickly left the space of the knowledge sea, also used his powerful strength to forcibly stop the burning of his soul. But seeing the remaining trace of Lin Mingyao's soul, Faling sighed and shook his head at Yu Haoran. Emperor Wu's powerful physical body directly shattered the mysterious dark iron, and then used his strength to support the huge body of the Blood Phoenix. He also mobilized all the origin power and soul power in his body and channeled it all into the Blood Phoenix. After losing the control of the mysterious dark iron on the Blood Phoenix transformation and being nourished by Yu Haoran's origin power and soul power, Lin Mingyao, who had quickly changed back to her original appearance, slowly opened her eyes. Looking at Yu Haoran, whose eyes were full of tears but were unwilling to cry, Lin Mingyao's eyes revealed a look of surprise. Yu Shixiang, when Mingyao knew that she was going to die, she had bitterly begged the heavens and the Tao of heaven. Lin Mingyao said with a happy smile on her face as she stretched out her pale hand and wiped away the tears hanging at the corner of Yu Haoran's eyes. "As long as I can see you, Shixiang, one more time before I die, no matter what you want me to do in my next life, I, Lin Mingyao, am willing. It seems that the heavens and the Tao of heaven heard my pleas and sent you to my side before I die. Mingyao, don't say anything, don't think about anything. I will definitely not let you die." Feeling the terrible situation in Lin Mingyao's body and hearing her pouring out her feelings, Yu Haoran, who was filled with endless regret and self-blame, said to Lin Mingyao with a sorrowful expression. Then he shouted to Faling, who had returned to his sea of consciousness. "Faling, come out." Pointing at Lin Mingyao, who had a trace of doubt in her eyes, Yu Haoran demanded rudely, "Faling, I don't care what method you use. Even if it overdrafts Yu Haoran's 5,000 years of life, I will save Mingyao." In the face of Yu Haoran's unreasonable demand, Faling sighed without the slightest anger, then stretched out his hand and flicked a drop of myriad drug milk into Lin Mingyao's mouth, leaving behind a few words of advice before returning to his sea of consciousness. Chapter 1558. In the Qinling Mountains. After knowing each other for several years, Yu Haoran was too familiar with Faling's character. Even if Lin Mingyao still had a glimmer of hope, he would absolutely not stand by and watch. Looking at the weak girl lying in his arms, looking at the happy smile on her face, the fierce impact of sadness and self-blame made him finally unable to control his emotions and shed tears. "Yu Shixiang, you are an indomitable man. Don't let tears destroy your great image in my heart." Her life was about to come to an end, making her cherish every minute and every second with the person she loved. Therefore, Lin Mingyao did not ask who the middle-aged expert was, just reached out her hand to wipe away Yu Haoran's tears that made her feel sweet, and tried to sound as mischievous as possible to comfort him. Moreover, Meng Yao is really happy now, really happy. Since Lin Meng Yao only had 5 minutes left, it was important to tell each other how much they missed each other, but Yu Haoran wanted her to leave this world without any regrets. Therefore, reaching out his hand to hold Lin Mingyao's hand that was wiping away her tears, forcibly suppressing the sadness and self-blame in his heart, and then asked tenderly, "Mingyao, do you have any unfulfilled wishes?" After thinking carefully, Lin Mingyao's eyes were filled with a trace of yearning as she said, "Yu Shi Xiang, it is said that the most beautiful flower in the world is called the epiphyllum, symbolizing the most beautiful love in the world. I don't know if you can plant an epiphyllum in front of my grave in the future." Blooming under the moon, the epiphyllum only appears briefly as Wei Tuo. Hearing Lin Mengyao mention the epiphyllum in her first wish, Yu Haoran thought of a poignant love story that his mother told him when he was young and instantly understood the feelings she wanted to express. Mengyao, on a peculiar mountain peak at the border between the central domain and the western domain, there's an epiphyllum that no one will ever forget after seeing it. Senior brother will personally plant that epiphyllum in front of your grave. Yu Haoran promised tenderly as he tightly held Lin Mingyao's jade hands that were gradually turning cold. Lin Mingyao, who had a happy smile on her face, looked at the few remaining tears in Yu Haoran's eyes. A trace of hesitation appeared in her eyes. However, when she thought about the time she was imprisoned, the only thing that kept her alive was the hope that she could stay by her lover's side forever in the future. In the end, she gritted her teeth and asked, "Yu Shi Xiao Mengyao, I heard that in order to marry Princess Ling Fei, you specially build a residence that can float in the air forever like a fairyland, right?" "That's right." While nodding to confirm, Yu Haoran forced out a smile and said, "Mengyao, in that forever floating residence, there will always be a room that belongs to you." Hearing Yu Haoran's expression of affection, Lin Mengyao carefully asked while feeling pleasantly surprised in her heart, "Yu Shi Xiang, after Mengyao dies, can Mengyao be buried in a corner of the residence so that Mengyao can stay by senior brother's side forever?" "Mengyao, not long after the residence is built, my sister and I will personally move our parents' graves to the residence. At that time, you'll be buried in the ancestral grave of the residence as the daughter-in-law of the Yu family." Yu Haoran gently pulled Lin Mengyao into his embrace as he promised. Haoran, forcefully responding to Yu Haoran's hug, Lin Mengyao cried out involuntarily with a mixture of sadness and joy. Although she was greedy for the sweet feeling of being tightly hugged by her lover, when she thought about how there was not much time left for her by fate, she still had one last wish that had yet to be fulfilled. Therefore, gently pushing away Yu Haoran's embrace, Lin Mengyao asked in a soft voice with a trace of shyness, "Haoran, are you willing to take me as your wife?" "Silly girl, if you're not my wife, then what qualifications do you have to live in my Yu family's ancestral grave?" Yu Haoran stretched out his hand and stroked Lin Mingyao's nose as he criticized her with heartache. "Haoran, before Mengyao dies, can you give Mengyao a real wedding?" Without any change in her expression because of Yu Haoran's heartache, Lin Mingyao's eyes were filled with boundless longing as she asked. Wedding, a formal wedding, a wedding that could be held together with her lover, was not only her dream, but also her mother's lifelong regret. Faling, out yin, hei xiong. The longing in Lin Mingyao's eyes, as well as the traces left behind by her mother that she had mentioned in her previous life, made Yu Haoran's heart ache even more. He immediately summoned all of his helpers. Faling used the fastest speed to refine the world's most beautiful wedding dress. "No problem." Faling nodded solemnly in response. At the same time, he returned to his sea of consciousness and began to use the most ordinary materials to refine the world's most beautiful wedding dress. Hei Xiong used the gravity technique to create a tower-shaped mountain peak for me. "Yes, master." Hei Xiong, who had just advanced to the venerable realm not long ago, responded to the order. Like a cannonball, he directly blasted a spacious and bright passage through the mountain peak above his head. Afterwards, with a mountain peak as the foundation, Hexiong used the gravity technique to create a tower-shaped mountain peak that was 999 meters tall in a short 3 seconds. Aoyan immediately used the divine might contained in the divine dragon's corpse, then summoned all of the exotic beasts above the 10th rank in the Qinling mountain range to the mountain peak that Hexiong built. Yes, master. After responding to the order, Aoyan used the beast pet contract to enter the victor. After extracting the remaining divine dragon's energy in the dragon bone, he flew through the spacious passage that Hexiong created and flew to the sky above the Qinling mountain range. Roar. Knowing that time was of the essence, Aoyan could only let out an endless dragon roar to the entire Qinling mountain range in 1 to 2 minutes to summon all of the exotic beasts in the mountain range. Along with the dragon roar that contained divine might, all of the exotic beasts in the Qinling mountain range, whether it was the Emperor Realm exotic beast that had just awakened, or the exotic beast that had been reared by the Lung family, or the exotic beasts in the Qinling mountain range, flew into the air or stepped on their 4 hooves and desperately rushed to the location where Ing Long roared. The dragon's roar that contains a trace of divine might is the gathering of countless exotic beasts in the Qinling mountain range. A martial sage expert of the Lung family who was proficient in beast taming speculated as he looked into the depths of the Qinling mountain range with a hint of expectation. It seems that some shocking changes are happening in the depths of the Qinling mountain range. Jiexiong, don't think about it. Even if there is a heaven-defying opportunity to become a venerable or emperor in the depths of the Qinling mountain range, you and I can forget about leaving the family now. Just as the martial sage expert finished his speculation, a white-haired old man standing next to him reminded him with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. After all, the patriarch has just issued an order to prohibit all of the experts above the martial sage realm in the family from leaving. Simon, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.